The emperor, with his mind-reading power, became a ruthless scoundrel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101 Etiquette. At that time, he must have wanted to severely punish Rui Ziying's whole family. After hearing what Geng Guanyu said, the Queen Mother also understood that there was no such idea between the two of them. She could only sigh helplessly and then said, "After all, this is also a state affair. You two still have to speed up the progress, otherwise the ministers below will definitely be anxious. If the Queen can get pregnant, then Zhejiang will be a great event for the whole world to celebrate, and it will also bring comfort to ordinary civilians. At that time, everyone will have more confidence in the emperor." Rui Ziying didn't dare to agree with this anyway. As for whether Geng Guanyu believed it or not, that was her business and had nothing to do with him. However, Geng Guanyu didn't believe what the Queen Mother said. If he had a child at this time, he would actually be distracted. In some ways, it was a very unfavorable thing. Although there were too many unfortunate things happening recently, it was indeed necessary to have one or two good things to cheer him up, but it was definitely not necessarily Rui Ziying's pregnancy. He believed that when Rui Ziying was ready, the two of them would definitely have their own children, but the time was not ripe yet, and having a child at this time was a burden for them. The Queen Mother was also a smart person. She knew that it was meaningless for her to continue sitting there, so she sighed a few times and stood up and left. Mu Huanjun also left the scene, leaving only Geng Guanyu and Rui Ziying. The two were speechless, and it was Rui Ziying who broke the silence. "I originally thought that the emperor must be very busy recently, but I didn't expect that you would have the time to send someone to keep an eye on the situation here." Geng Guanyu didn't know how to explain to Rui Ziying that he had the ability to read minds, but he didn't plan to tell Rui Ziying about this matter yet, so he just said it lightly. "The Queen has wronged me. I came here because his mother would embarrass you. Since the Queen thinks so, there is no other way. The next time the Queen Mother embarrasses you, Zheng Ke will not come to help. Then according to what you said, I should thank you. In fact, it doesn't matter if you don't come. I can handle it. When you didn't come just now, the Queen Mother and I had already sat down to drink tea peacefully. How can you think that without you, we two can't live in peace? How confident are you in yourself? If the Queen said so, then I have to go on a blind date. After all, you took my kindness for granted. Of course, I know that the Queen is good at handling the Queen Mother's affairs, but I am worried about you, right?" After hearing this, Rui Ziying looked up at him in disbelief. He almost doubted whether he had heard it wrong. Why could Geng Guanyu say such a thing with deep affection? What he said was even more unacceptable than what he said just now. What on earth was wrong with Geng Guanyu? Why did he always say some weird things since he came back? At this time, Geng Guanyu had already retracted his gaze as if nothing had happened, and then calmly found a chair to sit down, and said helplessly, "Anyway, I'm here. The Queen won't drive me away, right? I remember that the Queen's cooking skills are always very good. Why don't the Queen treat me to a meal?" Rui Ziying really wanted to say that Geng Guanyu's face was getting thicker and thicker. But she had already understood what to say and what not to say, so she naturally held back the words. "Since the emperor wants to stay for dinner, then of course I have to give this face. I will go to the kitchen to cook for you now. The emperor will wait here." Geng Guanyu looked at Rui Ziying's back in the distance, his eyes narrowed slightly, and he suddenly found that Rui Ziying was getting more and more interesting. Even though he obviously didn't want to do something, he chose to swallow his anger. If it were in the past, she would definitely complain in her heart. Since she went out for a while this time, Rui Ziying has become more and more mature after returning. Now she can actually endure this grievance. He hasn't heard Rui Ziying complain for a long time, except for today when she complained a few words about the Queen Mother. He suddenly missed a Rui Ziying in the past. Rui Ziying's personality was much more cheerful than now. He didn't know what she had experienced after going out to become what she is now. Soon, Rui Ziying came in with several plates of food and placed them in front of him at once. Although it was just 4 simple dishes and 1 soup, it was enough for him. He nodded in appreciation and said, "It seems that the Queen's cooking skills have not declined during the time she has been away from the palace. This is not even ready yet, but the fragrance has already made me drool." Rui Ziying just smiled perfunctorily, and did not express anything to him. It was really too much. Geng Guanyu could not stand her current appearance the most, so he could not help but tease her deliberately. The queen does not seem to be very comfortable. Is it because my arrival makes you very unhappy? If this is the case, then I have to pay attention to my image in the future. Don't run to the queen every time. After all, the queen is a very temperamental person. If you accidentally make the queen unhappy, the consequences will be very serious. Maybe I said impatiently, why can't 4 meals shut your mouth? You always have so much nonsense in my ears. The nerves on Geng Guanyu's face suddenly froze. He never thought that the woman was so bold that she dared to say such words in front of him. If she said it in private, then he might still pretend not to know and not care about her. Now that the other party has said it in front of him, if he does not punish the other party, then where will his face as a king be? After the queen came back from a period of time, she seemed to be bold and reckless. Don't you know what the difference between the monarch and the minister is? Even if you are the queen, you should know some etiquette in front of me. If you make me unhappy, I will kill all 9 clans. Rui Ziying couldn't help laughing after hearing this. Have you known each other online for such a long time? Do you think this trick is still useful to me? Chapter 102. Everything is under control. Instead of continuing to use this trick to scare me, you might as well change your tone earlier. Now this trick is of no use to me, and I will not be fooled by you again. She knew very well that Geng Guanyu still needed her now and would definitely not touch her easily. What's more, the enemy country was eyeing them covetously, and her father's role on the battlefield was fully brought into play. Geng Guanyu also understood Rui Ziying's thoughts and couldn't help but said, so the queen is sure that I dare not touch you, right? Rui Ziying sneered and said, I haven't thought about it that way. The emperor is the supreme ruler. If he wants to do something to someone, does he still have to find a reason? Can't you do it with just one word from you? I'm not that important to the emperor. So if the emperor doesn't like me, it's not impossible to kill my entire clan. I absolutely have no complaints. She looked righteous and successful, which made Geng Guanyu very angry. He said coldly, does the emperor mean to say that I'm unreasonable? Or is it that the queen has been dissatisfied with me for a long time and wants to take this opportunity to speak out? He suddenly moved closer to Rui Ziying and said, if the queen is dissatisfied with me, she can say it now. I will definitely admit my mistakes and correct them, instead of being like this. There is no point in the two of us arguing with each other. If other people know that the emperor and the queen are not on good terms, how do you want everyone to see it? Rui Ziying narrowed her eyes and said seriously, I think your majesty is thinking too much. No matter how unhappy our relationship is in private, I will definitely pretend to have a good relationship with you in front of outsiders and will never let them see any flaws. After hearing Rui Ziying say this, Geng Guanyu probably understood that it was impossible for the two of them to truly live in harmony. Even if they did live in harmony, they couldn't avoid bickering. He was so angry that he laughed, and then said, I think I understand what you mean. You mean that there is no possibility for the two of us to live in harmony, right? If you really think so, then I can tell you that you are totally wrong. As long as we understand each other, we can still get along well. After all, there is still a long time in the future, and we need to keep supporting each other. Like now, there are too many times when we have conflicts and bickering, but I don't want to continue like this with you. You are my queen, and I don't expect you to be virtuous. You must at least know how to respect my decision. Rui Ziying nodded in approval, and then said, I have thought about this problem a long time ago. We really need to change the way we get along and get along well. Even if it's not for a superficial appearance for everyone, just because we will continue to get along in the future, I think we should respect and understand each other. Rui Ziying was able to say this, and Geng Guanyu suddenly felt relieved. At least it proved that the relationship between the two of them had eased. A smile appeared on his face, and he personally picked up a piece of food for Rui Ziying with chopsticks, and then said, since the queen has understood, then please accompany me for a good meal. I hope that in the days to come, the queen will be able to understand me more, and I will of course understand you more. Now we are facing a national crisis, and we must work together to fight against the enemy. These internal contradictions will be dealt with after the enemy is resolved. Rui Ziying nodded. It was a rare mission, and what he said made sense, so she agreed with his opinion and began to ask about the situation in the enemy country. Geng Guanyu was very angry. When he talked about this topic, he couldn't even eat. He put his chopsticks on his stomach and said angrily, those ministers in the court are simply traitors. There are not many people who can be truly trusted. The people sent out this time have caused me a lot of trouble. I have completely realized that they are unreliable, and I have written down the names of all those unreliable people. When things are resolved, I will replace them one by one and send a new group of people. However, we are facing internal and external troubles now, so it is not appropriate to make a big fuss to dismiss all these people. If this is the case, then I am afraid that before the enemy can get in, our internal affairs will be in chaos. Rui Ziying nodded. Geng Guanyu was very thoughtful. It was not appropriate to make a big fuss now because of internal and external troubles. Moreover, the enemy country would naturally send spies over, which meant that their every move was under the surveillance of the other side. If Geng Guanyu replaced all these ministers at this time, he would fall into the enemy's trap. Ordinary civilians would think that the emperor had no way to deal with the enemy. Geng Guanyu wanted to replace all the people in the court, so he had to find a legitimate reason, and this reason must have nothing to do with the enemy. If the civilians knew that the enemy had already put most of its people into the court, what would they think? So no matter what the reason was, this matter could not be drastically dealt with at present. We could only calm things down slowly and then make a new conclusion. Your consideration makes sense, but who are the people who posed the greatest threat to you in the past year? Try to replace that group of people first. If you don't have anyone worthy of respect, then listen more to the people introduced by the old people. The people they introduce must be reliable, especially those who are loyal. Although young people nowadays have their own selfishness, as long as the people they introduce are of good character, there must be no problem. At least they are absolutely loyal to you in serving the emperor, and they will not have any second thoughts. Compared with those jackals and tigers in the court, they are already many times better. Geng Guanyu felt that what Rui Ziying said made sense, and said with a wry smile, "Yes, things have come to this point. What can be worse than this? As long as it is bad enough, there is no fear of being worse. He has already let it go, and he is not as entangled as he was at the beginning. These two people no longer care so much about the opinions of the enemy country. And he really needs a group of capable people now." Chapter 103 Surveillance. I think what the Queen said makes sense, but what kind of people does the Queen think are trustworthy? There are not many people like your father in the court. It is simply impossible to find all of them. Rui Ziying smiled faintly, and then said, "In fact, there are still many trustworthy people in the court, but the emperor is not willing to believe them, and loyal ministers like them usually speak very unpleasantly. The emperor likes to hear nice words, so he will naturally ignore their existence." After listening to Rui Ziying's words, Geng Guanyu immediately remembered the existence of a person, Yu Zufei. His words are indeed not very nice, basically completely opposite to himself, and sometimes the other party will intervene in any decision he makes, so Rui Ziying is right. Before this, he always had a resentful and even repulsive mentality towards Yu Zufei. But now I feel that Rui Ziying is right. Loyal people like this often speak unpleasantly. As long as you choose to slowly accept their existence and recognize their views, you will think that they are really thinking about you. Geng Guanyu looked at her as if he had found a treasure. The Queen is really smart. No wonder your father values you so much. I made you the Queen on impulse, but now it seems that I have found a treasure. Rui Ziying would not be so stupid as to take his words to heart. For a person like him, how could he not know how many people were praising him? So what he just said was just a show. After this matter is resolved, he will definitely return to his nature. As the saying goes, it is easy to change the country, but it is difficult to change one's nature. Even if Geng Guanyu lost his current seat, he could not change his character. After all, this is the nobility he has cultivated since he was a child. How could something emanating from his bones change so easily? Even if he changed, he was still the same person in essence, and there would be no difference. After finishing the meal, Geng Guanyu returned to his palace because he had other things to do to deal with the next thing, and Rui Ziying also successfully got a task, which was to help Geng Guanyu investigate whether there were any trustworthy people in the court. In fact, in the original text, apart from his father, the only one who was loyal to Geng Guanyu is the Prime Minister Yu Zufei. However, now these two people, one civil and one military, are obviously not enough. Geng Guanyu needs more confidants to help him clear other obstacles in the court. This made Rui Ziying very worried. People in the court now have different intentions. It is as difficult as climbing to the sky to find one or two loyal people among them. However, since Geng Guanyu has handed this task to her, she naturally has no reason to retreat. In addition, Before returning to the palace, she had already told Mu Huanjun that she would help Geng Guanyu solve the contradiction here. Now that the problem has fallen on her, how could she retreat? She rubbed her forehead with a headache, and then asked someone to call Mu Huanjun over. Mu Huanjun seemed very surprised that Rui Ziying would call him over at this time. After all, he had not been away for a long time. As the emperor left, he looked left and right with some curiosity. When he was sure that there was no trace of Geng Guanyu, he finally breathed a sigh of relief and said with a smile, "It seems that the emperor and the queen have a good relationship. The empress dowager is urging us to have a baby. I don't know when you two can get pregnant. If my examination just now is correct, the queen and the emperor should not have that kind of relationship, right?" What he said was a little too straightforward. Rui Ziying looked at him awkwardly, and then said, "How can you, a little kid, know so much?" Mu Huanjun also realized what he had just said. He scratched the back of his head awkwardly, and then said, "Because I am a doctor. As a doctor, of course I have to understand the patient's physical condition. As for taking the pulse, it is the easiest way to tell a person's physical condition. So when I was checking whether the queen had a pulse just now, I took your pulse by the way." Rui Ziying understood, but still felt very embarrassed, and then said, "You'd better not say this in front of the queen mother. If this matter is exposed, it will be a troublesome thing for both you and me, and I may not be able to keep the position of queen." Mu Huanjun nodded and said very seriously, "I know there is another imperial concubine in the palace who is eyeing you covetously, and the relationship between the queen mother and you doesn't seem to be very good. Although I am not very old, I can see these aspects. If I am not mistaken, if the queen mother knows that you and the emperor are just playing around, I guess she will let the imperial concubine replace you, although this is a bit too much. With the queen mother's personality, she can really do such a thing, which is one of the reasons why our Rui Ziying is worried. Although she doesn't like the position of queen very much, and thinks that being tied to the emperor is not a good thing, if she is removed from the position of queen, she will not be able to leave the palace, and the result waiting for her can only be to be banished to the cold palace. She is still young and has a bright future. She has not had time to enjoy the great country yet, so how could she be locked up in that cold palace? So she must keep her current position at all costs. However, there is no need to let a child know these things, so she simply followed the other party's words and said, "That's indeed the case, so you must be careful in everything, and never let the queen mother see any flaws. Come, if the queen mother asks you to do this kind of thing again in the future, remember to tell me in advance. After all, you followed me into the palace, so you can't be bribed by the queen mother so easily." Mu Huanjun smiled and said, "How could I be bribed so easily? I was just a little curious about whether the queen was pregnant, so I came here to check your physical condition under the queen mother's order. But now I have successfully solved the doubts. In the future, the queen mother's words will of course go in one ear and out the other. Just like what the queen said, I don't take it seriously at all." Chapter 104, Secret Guard. Rui Ziying didn't feel angry. She always knew that Mu Huanjun was a smart man. He knew exactly what you should say and what you shouldn't say. As for what to do, he also knew it and there was no need for anyone to worry about it. "I called you here because the emperor has assigned a task to him. He wants to find one or two reliable people in the court. But you know that the court is in turmoil now. Everyone wants to have a better future for themselves. So it is not easy to find someone you can really trust in this situation. I called you here because I know that you are very popular in the palace. Although you have not been in the palace for a long time, you already know a lot of people. You can ask them more and listen to what they say about people. If they can tell him who is good, then that person is worth relying on." Mu Huanjun never thought that Rui Ziying would entrust such an important task to him. He was a little flattered for a moment, but he nodded honestly and said, "Don't worry, Queen, since you have given me this task, I will complete it no matter what." He had already said this, and Rui Ziying nodded with relief. "I believe you." There was no other way if he didn't believe it. After all, it is not an easy thing to find one or two people who can be trusted in such a short time. Even she can't do it. However, she has decided to write a letter to ask her father if there is anyone in the court who is worth the present. After all, Rui Ziying has been in the court for so many years and knows many people. If she asks him, he can provide some clues. She also decided to take this opportunity to talk to the emperor and go home to visit him, but she didn't expect to be rejected by Geng Guanyu, and the reason given by Geng Guanyu was also very official. Nowadays, the capital is too chaotic. I really don't feel at ease for you to leave the palace. I also know that you miss your parents, but according to the current situation, it is safest for you to stay in the palace." Rui Ziying understood the reason, but she was too busy last time and didn't have time to go home to see her mother. Her father was fighting in the frontier, and her mother must be scared at home. If she couldn't go back to see him, then her next life would definitely become particularly difficult. So she said to Geng Guanyu, "I will sneak away, alone and not tell anyone my identity, and I will try my best to cover myself. I promise that I will not stay at home for a long time and will return to the palace soon." Geng Guanyu frowned and said seriously, "Then I will be even more worried about letting you go alone. If you really encounter any danger, you can't do anything to them with your strength. What if you have any problems outside the palace? I will be laughed at for 1,000 years." Rui Ziying took a breath silently, and then said, "I believe you understand the principle that a tall tree attracts the wind. Sometimes the more people you go out with me, the more inappropriate it is for my situation. Like now, if I sneak out of the palace alone, no one will notice me. Not many people know me to begin with. I cover my face with a burning mask. Who'll notice that my figure is so familiar? What's more, there are so many lumens outside now. As long as I pretend to be the same as them, no one will dare to do anything to me. If you are really worried about my situation, you can also ask 1 or 2 comforters to follow me. But they can't be too short-sighted and can only follow me secretly. They can only come out when I am in danger. It's best for them not to disturb my reunion with my family at other times. My father has been fighting in the border areas, and I have encountered so much in the palace. My mother is well informed and must have known it a long time ago and is worried. I went back just to comfort change. If I can't even do this, then what's the point of me being the queen? My mother is not the kind of person who makes trouble. I probably won't stay long this time. She will drive me back to the palace. But I still want to accompany my mother more in the remaining time. After all, this disaster is difficult to solve. Who knows what will happen next? My mother is old. Being able to accompany her once is equivalent to one less opportunity to accompany her. Now the workers are busy. You can just find a reason to send me out, and no one will be suspicious. But after this matter is resolved, it will not be so easy for me to leave the palace again." Geng Guanyu was just being casual. He only said a few words, but he didn't expect Rui Ziying to tell him so many great truths at once. He didn't know how to refute for a moment, so he could only sigh silently and then said, "Since you have already made up your mind, then do as you said, but you must be careful. I will send 2 more secret guards to follow you, so you don't have to worry about being exposed. Even if you are exposed, so what? Just invite 1 or 2 people to keep an eye on you, right? Pretend to be a young lady or a young master in a certain service, and who would dare to rush up to you and cause trouble." Then she thought about it and felt that what Geng Guanyu said made sense, so she nodded and agreed at once. "What you said makes sense. I do plan to disguise myself as a man when I leave the palace this time. No matter when, men are much more suitable than women in terms of actions. So you don't have to worry about my situation. Who would be attacked by a man?" Geng Guanyu never thought that one day he would accompany Rui Ziying to make trouble, but Rui Ziying's request was not actually that excessive. As children, no one does not miss their parents, and it is understandable that Rui Ziying misses her mother. Moreover, Rui Ziying's personality meant that if he didn't let her visit him this time, she would keep talking about this matter and even complain about it. Who knows what new conflicts would arise between the two of them. He was really afraid that Rui Ziying would lose her temper, and he didn't know what was going on. Chapter 105 Undercover Identity. Rui Ziying packed her things quickly, changed into men's clothes, and prepared to sneak out of the palace at night. This time she left the palace was completely different from the last time. Last time, she was on a mission, but this time she sneaked out of the palace secretly. Except for the emperor, even the people in her own palace didn't know about it. Last time, she failed nothing with Zihor's company, but this time she couldn't help but feel a little nervous when she was alone. But these were not difficult for her. She had important things to do. How could she be defeated in this aspect? After leaving the palace, she felt completely free. If she was not afraid of raising her parents, she would have sneaked out of the palace now, and she would have hated to never go back to that ghost place again. The more free and easy she was in this place, the more depressed she was. Then, what you never expected was that after knowing that Rui Ziying was back, Manzai Osi moved some things that she had treasured for a long time from her palace, and took advantage of the night to have a good chat with Rui Ziying about life outside the palace. Because during the day, she had Yuan watching her, so she had to be convenient in various ways. Now it was finally night, and she had her own things to do. She finally got some free time and wanted to have a good chat with Rui Ziying. However, what she never expected was that Rui Ziying was not on the palace. When Manziosi asked where Rui Ziying had gone, everyone in the palace couldn't answer. She naturally thought that Rui Ziying had gone to Geng Guanyu, so she hurriedly moved her things to Geng Guanyu to find Rui Ziying. However, what surprised her even more was that Geng Guanyu couldn't find Rui Ziying here either. However, Geng Guanyu gave her a positive answer: the enemy country is invading, and there are too many things happening outside. The queen heard that something happened outside, so she volunteered to leave the palace again. Manziosi said with some shame after listening, "You are worthy of being my sister. This situation is destined for me to never catch up in my life. It seems that it is not unreasonable for the emperor to like my sister. I have always known that I am not as good as my sister, but I didn't expect that I am so far behind. With such a big thing as the enemy country invading, I can't help the emperor at all. On the contrary, my sister is busy running around for the emperor. She just returned to the palace and hurried out again after working for a long time. If it were me, if I hadn't returned to the palace for such a long time, I would definitely stay in the palace and enjoy it. I would not rush out of the palace at all. I am ashamed of this." When she said this, there was really a look of shame on her face, and Geng Guanyu couldn't tell whether what she said was sincere or false. So he said to her in a joking tone, "Why do I remember that the relationship between you two is not so good? When did you know how to be considerate?" When Manziosi heard this, her expression was obviously stiffened for a moment, and then she said, "Now we are facing national hatred and family difficulties. I think there should be no more conflicts between my sister and me. Even if there are any conflicts, we must wait until this matter is resolved." Geng Guanyu nodded and praised, "Not bad, you can distinguish right from wrong. This is destined to show that you and the queen have some similarities." I don't know why, after hearing Geng Guanyu's words, Manziosi felt particularly happy, probably because her strength was finally recognized. Although her strength was recognized, part of the reason was because of Rui Ziying. She didn't care about this around her roommate. As long as she could get Geng Guanyu's recognition, it was enough. She knew that Geng Guanyu didn't like her very much, so she decided to stay by Geng Guanyu's side honestly, even if she was only a foil. Before that, there is a condition, that is, you must not go against Rui Ziying, because Geng Guanyu obviously still likes Rui Ziying. If she goes against Rui Ziying, then Geng Guanyu will definitely complain about her. At that time, she will not even be qualified to stay with Geng Guanyu. She has now successfully seen what her value is next to Geng Guanyu, so she plans to get along with Rui Ziying peacefully. If the other party is unwilling, then she will think of other ways. However, at present, she must do enough surface work in front of the emperor. I just don't want the emperor to be too embarrassed about my sister and me, so I want to deal with the relationship with my sister first. What's more, I believe that my sister is not a bad person. As long as I treat her well, she will understand my good intentions." Geng Guanyu raised his eyebrows with interest and didn't agree with what he said. After all, he knew what kind of character Rui Ziying was, but people with Rui Ziying's character were actually quite easy to talk to. As long as she didn't provoke her, everything would be easy to discuss. After all, Rui Ziying was not the kind of person who had nothing to do. "It's great that you are so accurate. You really can't help me now. The only thing I can do is to try not to cause me trouble. That's enough for me. I've been very busy this month and don't have much time to take care of you. Please don't blame me," Manziosi said hurriedly. "How could I blame the emperor? I feel that the emperor is too late. If the emperor hadn't given me a chance to stay by your side, then I would have been stranded somewhere by now. And I have always been very grateful to the emperor for not exposing my identity and letting me stay by your side. This is the emperor's kindness to me, and I am very touched." Geng Guanyu. He was not used to saying such mushy words to someone he didn't like here. If the other party was Rui Ziying, then he might still consider it, but facing the woman in front of him, he really couldn't muster any interest at all. Especially when he thought of the other party's undercover identity, he felt even more angry. Now the people of the enemy country were so arrogant that he had no idea how many undercover agents they had arranged around him. These undercover agents actually dared to be his bedmates and tried every means to get pregnant with his child. Chapter 106 Well deserved. Even though Man Ziying has reformed now, Geng Guanyu has never forgiven her. At most, he just treats her as an ordinary person. If he wants him to like her, it is impossible. You go back first. I still have a lot of things to deal with here. What are you doing with these things? Man Ziying said hurriedly. I originally wanted to give these to my sister to celebrate her return to the palace, but I didn't expect that she would leave the palace again in such a short time. I didn't even have time to meet her. The regretful tone in her words was too obvious. How could Geng Guanyu not hear it? But he couldn't tell what the other party's real intention was. Did he really want to have a good relationship with Rui Ziying, or did he have other intentions? Send these things to his palace. He will see them when he comes back. Even if she doesn't accept your kindness, she won't let you down casually. Man Ziying nodded and left. Meanwhile, Rui Ziying had returned to her home. Mrs. Rui was obviously surprised to see her coming. She was shocked and excited and held her hand. Then she checked her carefully before asking, "Why are you back? I'll come back to see you later, mother." "You've lost weight," Mrs. Rui said nervously. "Are you here alone?" Rui Ziying nodded. "Mother, don't worry. I have obtained the Emperor's consent. It was the Emperor who asked me to visit you. I have made a great contribution this time. In order to reward me, the Emperor decided to fulfill one of my wishes, and my wish is to return home to see you, mother." Hearing this, Mrs. Rui's heart was finally put down. She originally thought that Rui Ziying had sneaked out, but she didn't expect that the Emperor actually allowed her to come out. If the Emperor agreed, then flying would become much easier now. She reached out to wipe her tears and saw Rui Ziying said, "I know everything. You have worked hard during this period. It is understandable that the Emperor gives you a little reward and lets you go home to have a good rest. So you should stay at home for a while. Mother will ask someone to make you some delicious food to replenish your body. Is that okay with you?" Rui Ziying was of course very touched by the warmth from her family this time, but before leaving the palace, she had promised Geng Guanyu that she would go back soon, and she would definitely not be able to stay at home for a few days. So she said to Madame Rui, "I'm afraid I can't stay at home for a few days. There are a lot of things going on in the palace right now. I have to face them together with the Emperor. After all, we are husband and wife now. The Emperor treats me very well. How can I watch his kingdom fall into the hands of others? I can't bear to leave the affairs of the palace to the Emperor alone to deal with." After hearing what Rui Ziying said, Madame Rui knew that she and the Emperor had a good relationship, and she felt relieved. Then she said, "A long absence is better than a new marriage. Mother is not the kind of person who doesn't know the rules. Since you are anxious to go back, why don't you stay here for one night? How about you pack up and rush back tomorrow?" Rui Ziying said a little embarrassedly. "Actually, there is no need to be so anxious. There is no problem staying for 2 days. I believe the Emperor can understand. After all, Mother and I haven't seen each other for a long time. It is inevitable that we will stay for a few more days when we meet and talk to each other about our longing." Who knew that Mrs. Rui would refuse to do it? "No, that won't do. Since you know that there are a lot of things to do in the palace, you should go back earlier to help the Emperor bear them instead of hiding at home and being lazy." Although Rui Ziying had guessed that she had such a personality, she never expected that she would be so stubborn. She just casually said that there was an expert on the word no who stayed here and had no time, but she didn't expect to be rejected by the other party without hesitation. She immediately felt a little embarrassed. "Mother, I was just talking casually. I'm not going to stay at home. Don't you miss your daughter at all?" Madame Rui reached out her hand to wipe her tears and cried, "You heartless man, how could Mother not miss you? Mother misses you so much that even in her dreams she sees you. But what can I do? You're the queen now and you certainly can't sit by my side all the time. Mother can't treat you like a child anymore. You have your own ideas now and your own husband. I feel relieved that you live with your husband. That's enough. At least you're living a good life in the palace now. In fact, what I'm most worried about is that you're not living a happy life in the palace. After all, the living environment in the palace is too hard. It's not impossible for some people to stay alone in an empty room for their entire lives. Especially if they don't get the Emperor's favor, then they'll probably have to waste their time in vain. Even if you're the queen, you can't change this fate. The fact that you can get the Emperor's favor and treat him with respect like you do now actually makes your father and I feel most relieved. Your father is in the borderland, guarding the country for the Emperor, and also for the sake of allowing you to live a better life in the palace. Madame Rui couldn't help but sigh and wiped her tears again. I have been hearing news about you during the time you were out of the palace. In fact, I was quite worried about you. But I feel particularly relieved to see you sharing the Emperor's worries. At least I have not let you down in all these years of teaching you. You have now successfully used the knowledge I taught you to achieve your life goals. Rui Ziying suddenly knelt down in front of her when she heard this. Madame Rui at least wanted to help her up. After all, Rui Ziying was the queen now. No matter what the rules were, Rui Ziying didn't need to kneel down to him anymore. Even the relationship between mother and daughter could not withstand the difference between monarch and minister. Hurry up and get up. You can't do this. You are the queen now. How can you kneel down to me? No matter what your daughter's status is now, you will always be my mother. It is natural for a daughter to be with her husband. How can you bear such words? If it weren't for your mother's care for so many years, how could your daughter be so successful now? Everything your daughter has now is given by you, so you deserve this. Chapter 107 Replacement. No matter how reasonable Rui Ziying's words were, Madame Rui still felt that she couldn't keep kneeling, so she quickly dodged to the side and said, "Rules are rules. If you kneel like this, I will shorten my life. Don't you want me to live a few more years?" Madame Rui's brother had already said so much. If Rui Ziying continued to kneel, it would be equivalent to cursing her, so she stood up and found a chair to sit down and chat with Madame Rui. Madame Rui was mostly concerned about Rui Ziying's situation in the palace, and how she lived during the time she was out of the palace, and what kind of things she encountered. In this matter, Rui Ziying was very patient, basically saying everything she could say, and successfully coaxed Madame Rui into a happy mood. It was not until late at night that the two of them unknowingly went back to their rooms to rest. The next morning, Rui Ziying got up personally to cook for Madame Rui. Mrs. Rui was a little flattered and said, "My daughter is indeed proficient in music, chess, calligraphy and painting. I just don't know when you learn cooking, and the taste is so good." Rui Ziying said a little embarrassedly, "It is said that a half-king is like a half-tiger. It is necessary to learn 2 more skills, especially in the cooking aspect. Sometimes when the emperor comes, you can cook 1 or 2 dishes for him, eat with him and chat, which can also enhance the relationship." After hearing this, Mrs. Rui was even happier. At least Rui Ziying has now learned how to get along with Geng Guanyu and learned to coax people. As long as Geng Guanyu is happy, what can Rui Ziying not regret? You are right. 1 more skill means 1 more skill. There is a glimmer of hope to survive, and I can stay with a girl. I am very relieved, but I hope to take care of yourself more. Now I don't have to worry about your situation in the palace. Why don't you go back tomorrow? I'm afraid that if you stay here for a long time, the emperor will miss you." Rui Ziying thought to herself, how could Geng Guanyu miss herself? But these words happened to be heard by Geng Guanyu. In fact, before he heard Rui Ziying's words, he was really thinking about Rui Ziying, wondering why Rui Ziying hadn't come back yet. According to their previous agreement, Rui Ziying should have come back now, but now it's already dawn, and the clothes haven't come back yet. If this goes on, she can only wait until tonight. Rui Ziying is a smart person. She shouldn't stay at home and not come back, that would only harm her parents. Just after hearing Rui Ziying's complaints, he realized that it shouldn't take long, which means that he can come back, and his heart suddenly relaxed, but he didn't quite agree with what Rui Ziying said. What does it mean that he won't miss her? I'm thinking about her every day now, okay? It's just that it's okay to say this in my heart, but it's absolutely impossible for him to say it in front of Rui Ziying. On the one hand, it's because he can't let it go, and on the other hand, he thinks it's too corny, and he can't say this at all. Since the poisoning incident, the enemy country has not taken any action. Although Manziosi did not bring him any good news, she also did not bring him any bad news. In fact, this is enough for him. But he was unwilling to believe that Dibo would give up so easily. They must be thinking of more insidious means to deal with the ordinary people of their country. Moreover, he must predict the next action of the other party in advance and be prepared. If the reorganization of personnel happens again, then the lives of the people on his side will definitely be a mess. Originally, the most affected by the war between the two countries were ordinary civilians. They had just passed the first level. If they were to encounter another disaster, it would be too unfair to their lives. Their lives were already hard enough. He did not need to force his own affairs to involve them. That would make him feel guilty. As the emperor of a country, It was fine if he could not protect his own people. If he harmed them because of himself, then he, the emperor, would be a disaster for them. At that time, there will definitely be a rumor among ordinary people, and that rumor is most likely directly related to him. When he thought of this possibility, he suddenly realized that the enemy country was not waiting for such a good opportunity to come to him. If he continued to delay like this, the other party would have the opportunity to create more rumors to panic the people and give him a false name. The most feared thing is rumors. Sometimes rumors can kill a person. Even if he is the emperor, there is no way to avoid it. At that time, even if he wants to suppress the rumor by force, there will be people who spread it privately, which will make them feel more panic. Geng Guanyu frowned. He decided to write to the border to ask about the situation to see if it is the same as he guessed. If there is no movement over there, then it is estimated that they are really waiting for the opportunity. He will not let the enemy succeed, so he must come up with a corresponding countermeasure to stop their actions before the other party takes action. Only in this way can he avoid the people on his side from being harmed again. He wrote a letter to Rui Ziying, asking him about their situation. In fact, Rui Ziying's letter had just been delivered. Rui Ziying saw that the new knights that Rui Ziying was used to had roughly guessed their situation. It was estimated that many people's foxtails had been successfully exposed and attracted Geng Guanyu's attention. Geng Guanyu had already noticed it, so he wanted to find a group of rich people to replace those people. He thought for a long time and thought that the people who could meet this condition, and then successfully compiled a list and prepared to send it to Rui Ziying. He now had to guard the situation on the border and keep an eye on Dong's in on the enemy side. It was impossible for him to send the letter back in person, but he still thought about helping Rui Ziying and the others. This was the only place he could help Rui Ziying this time, so he did it very carefully. After writing it, he also specially asked his closest subordinate to personally deliver the letter to Rui Ziying, and told him to deliver it to Rui Ziying before returning. Chapter 108 is True Face. After all, the world outside is too chaotic now. Sometimes it is normal for letters to be hijacked. He doesn't want the letter he wrote to Rui Ziying to fall into the hands of the enemy. In that case, those truly loyal ministers will be killed, and things will become much more troublesome. He will never allow anything to happen, especially at this critical moment. Everything seems so important. If an accident happens at this time, then he will have to spend more time to deal with other people. Rui Ziying and his team are already busy with their own affairs. If they assign people to do other things at this critical moment, there will definitely be a shortage of manpower. Soon the letter was delivered to Rui Ziying safely. When she received the letter, Rui Ziying was still a little surprised. After all, she didn't expect that her father, a military general, could remember the names of these people in the court so clearly. Although she knew that her father had a good memory, her father had been staying at the border all year round. Logically, he should not know the situation here, but he could accurately say everyone's name and remember their preferences, which was also very rare. After memorizing the list, Rui Ziying handed the paper to the candle and let the fire burn. There is an 80% probability that the people on the list given by her father must be safe. She can report this matter to Geng Guanyu and let him make the decision. As for the result, it has nothing to do with the divorce. After all, what she can give him is just a reference. Whether he accepts it or not must go through his own investigation. If he easily believes her words without investigation, then it is also his problem. After waiting in front of Geng Guanyu, Rui Ziying wrote down all the names on the list given by her father. Geng Guanyu was a little surprised by Rui Ziying's carefulness. Isn't it that the queen's memory is so good? She can clearly remember the names of everyone on it. When the country was in crisis, Rui Ziying had no time to continue joking with him, so she said directly, "This list was given by my father. I think 80% of the people on it are credible. As for whether to believe it or not, it will be reviewed by your majesty. It is best to burn this list or use other methods to deal with it after reading it, otherwise those ministers are likely to suffer a crisis." Such a simple truth, Geng Guanyu could not fail to understand it. If he really took this list and carefully reviewed the names of everyone on it, and then recalled their contributions to the court. In the end, he was ashamed to find that he had never even heard of many of the names on it, but he was sure that these people were indeed in his court, but they were usually silent, so he didn't notice their existence at all. On the contrary, those who he once trusted, not a single person was shown on it, which was enough to prove how much of a failure he was. He trusted treacherous ministers, so he ended up like this. This list is very important. Although General Rui Ziying is not on the capital, he cares about the country and knows the people in the court better than I do. Rui Ziying did not speak, but just looked at him silently, waiting for his next answer. Geng Guanyu understood what Rui Ziying meant, and said with some shame, I don't know much about these ministers, but from now on I will not believe any strong words. In the future, I will only listen to you, Queen. Rui Ziying was stunned for a moment unconsciously. She never expected that he would say such a thing. She turned her head away with some discomfort, and then said, I think there are still many people you can trust in the court. You don't have to pin your hopes on me. Although my father is a loyal man, I may not consider everything for you. I have selfish motives. Geng Guanyu smiled generously and said, everyone is selfish and thinks about themselves. It is not a shameful thing. On the contrary, I admire the Queen's thinking. You know how to protect yourself. Only by protecting yourself can you protect others, and no matter what happens, you can face it calmly without getting nervous like most people when encountering big things. So I trust you more and can handle everything well. Rui Ziying rolled her eyes and said nonchalantly, don't think that I will believe your lies just because you said one or two nice words to me. I am very picky and my opinion of you will not change because of your words or deeds. Geng Guanyu smiled very frankly and said nonchalantly, of course I know what kind of personality the Queen has, but every word I said just now is serious. I am willing to believe you better than anyone in the court. Don't forget that we are already husband and wife. Since we are married, we should face all the things that come next calmly together, although I also know that there is no love between us two, and even the Queen is quite dissatisfied with me, but feelings can be cultivated slowly. As long as the Emperor is willing to give me a chance, I promise that there will be no other concubines except you in the future, Rui Ziying said with some surprise. What about Manziosi? She is your imperial concubine. Don't tell me you don't want her anymore. Geng Guanyu smiled and shook his head. She is an undercover sent by the enemy country. It is a great blessing for her to stay by my side. How can she stay as a concubine? It won't be long before I abolish her position as a concubine. At that time, there will only be you, the Queen, in my harem. Rui Ziying's expression gradually turned cold. This is the true face of Geng Guanyu. No matter what happens, he will only care about his own interests. As for others, he has no feelings at all. But soon she calmed down, or as an emperor, the most important thing to consider is his own interests, and other feelings can only be forced to put aside. If he doesn't lie for himself, then he can't sit on the throne for long. When did you know she was an undercover? Manziosi was indeed an undercover, but according to the original plot, she shouldn't be exposed in such a short time. Did something unexpected happen? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109 Opportunity. But just thinking about it, there doesn't seem to be any plague in the original text, and the enemy country will not pose a threat to Geng Guanyu's country in such a short time. Could it be that my arrival has caused some changes in things? It happened that at this time, the system once again issued a task, help Manziosi regain Geng Guanyu's trust and help her stay in the palace. Rui Ziying once again had to wonder if Manziosi also had a system like herself, and her system was serving Manziosi's system. Otherwise, why is the task assigned by the system every time related to this party, and most of them are to help the other party? When the generation has not encountered anything, the system will not assign tasks. Once the other party encounters any problems, the tasks he assigns must be related to the other party. This is too incredible, so she couldn't help asking, "Are you sure you are here to help me? Your system seems a bit rebellious. You are not the system of Manziosi, and then you accidentally ran to me." The answer given by the system is very official. Please don't make up nonsense, don't think about it, complete the task well, and you can get rewards after completing the task. The rewards can be exchanged for items in the mall. Rui Ziying certainly knew this, but the other party has not assigned any tasks recently, so she now has no points to exchange for things. Now that a task has been assigned with great difficulty, it is natural to complete it well. It happened that Geng Guanyu had already started to answer her question at this time. After careful consideration, he decided how to say it more appropriately. It would not expose himself, And the secret of being able to hear Rui Ziying's inner thoughts would not make Rui Ziying suspicious. I just found out about it recently. During the time you were away from the palace, I witnessed with my own eyes that she was informing someone from the enemy country. The enemy country's person has been executed by me. I originally planned to execute her too, but she said she was willing to be a spy for me in the empire, so I reluctantly agreed to spare her life. Rui Ziying did not suspect anything, which was understandable. When people's lives are threatened, they often make decisions that are unexpected to themselves. In order to survive, Manzai chose to submit to Geng Guanyu, which was actually understandable, so she said, "Since Manzai has agreed to help your majesty as a spy, it only proves that she is still loyal to your majesty. It's just that she took the wrong path before. Now that she is willing to change her mind, then this is naturally the best thing for your majesty. There is no need to keep dwelling on the past. It's time to give her a chance." After listening to this, Geng Guanyu looked at Rui Ziying in disbelief. He said in shock, "What did you just say, that you actually asked me to forgive her? Do you think this is possible? After all, she is an undercover sent by the enemy country. Even if she has successfully joined my side now, this does not prove that she is loyal to me. What if this is all her political scheme?" Rui Ziying nodded and felt that what he said made sense, so she said, "It's not impossible, but I think she is somewhat sincere to the emperor, and if she didn't really like the emperor, she wouldn't have agreed to the emperor's request. People like them who are well-trained can end their lives even when they are in danger. So how could they compromise with you? There is only one reason why she compromised with you, that is, during this period of time, she has already fallen deeply in love with you, so she was able to offer to help you in that situation." Although what Rui Ziying said made sense, Geng Guanyu still felt a little unhappy after hearing it. Rui Ziying could say so frankly that another woman liked him, and she didn't have any jealousy at all. Doesn't that prove that Rui Ziying didn't actually have him in her heart? After all, they have been husband and wife for so long. Even if they are not very harmonious on weekdays, it still makes him feel a little difficult to accept that the other party doesn't have him in her heart at all. Is his charm not big enough? Even Manzai has fallen deeper in love with him, but Rui Ziying is still very calm, as if she didn't take him to heart at all, or they have only been getting along as friends from the beginning to the end, not husband and wife. Otherwise, which woman can say in front of her man so frankly that another woman likes her? She should still be jealous. Although he thinks that it is impossible for Rui Ziying to be jealous with her character, it is still difficult for him to accept that she can face this relationship so frankly. Manzai has already fallen deeply in love with me, Queen. What about you? Haven't you ever been moved by me? Rui Ziying blinked in surprise, looked at him in disbelief and said, "Aren't we talking about the imperial concubine now? What does it have to do with me? Whether I like you or not doesn't seem to have much to do with you and her, right?" Now he's not sure what kind of feelings he has for Geng Guanyu. "I like her, but I can't say I don't like her. In fact, I have a little bit of good feelings for her, but it's just a little bit, and there is no extra emotion." Geng Guanyu was so angry that he laughed at her reaction and said directly, "So I should understand what the queen means. You really have no feelings for me, right? We have been together for such a long time. Is there nothing about me that can impress you at all?" Su rolled his eyes without hesitation and said mercilessly, "Do you think the things you did for me are worthy of my love for you? Even if I am moved, you have to give me a chance. I really can't find any moving point in the things you have done for me. Although I am not very clear why the imperial concubine likes you, you'd better not use the tricks you use on the imperial concubine on me, because I don't buy it at all. On the contrary, I feel a little disgusted. It's not that she doesn't believe in love, she just doesn't believe in the man in front of her. After all, he is the emperor and will have 3,000 beauties in the harem in the future, and she is his queen. In a sense, the two of them have been completely tied together, but this does not mean that she has to give up her true heart." Chapter 110, Cleaning Up the House. If you have determined how to get along with the other person from the beginning, then at least you won't be so devastated. But if you give your heart to someone but don't get a response from him, then you will feel very desperate. She just wants to be calm for the rest of her life and live it peacefully. As for other things, she has never thought about love. Now he is not a child anymore. He has survived twice. How can he not be able to control himself? Your Majesty, I personally think that love is dispensable, but I must remain calm and collected in the face of everything. For example, this time I helped you protect the country. Even if I don't have any feelings for you, so what? I am your queen after all. If you encounter any danger, I will still choose to stand by you without hesitation to protect you and guard you." Geng Guanyu shook his head and looked at him straight, then said, "But has the queen ever thought that what you give me is not what I want most? Maybe I just want a true heart from the queen, but it's a pity that the queen can't give it to me. She can't even satisfy such a simple request." He said it pitifully, as if Rui Ziying had done something bad that she was unwilling to do. Rui Ziying couldn't help rolling her eyes and didn't buy his talk at all. "Instead of talking nonsense to me here before, you might as well think about how to win over these ministers. Although they are loyal to you now and have no ulterior motives, it does not mean that none of them have been bribed. So you should examine them carefully, and don't blame me and my father when something goes wrong. My words are just a reference for you. As for whether you believe it or not, that's your business. I hope you don't believe it. Although I promise to help you, it does not mean that I will give everything or risk everything for it. The most important thing is in your own hands. Whether you believe me or not is your own business," Geng Guanyu said nonchalantly. "Of course I believe what the queen said. After all, we are married. I really don't know who to believe. What's more, your father has always been loyal to me and protected our country. So far, no enemy country has invaded, which is also your father's credit. If your father hadn't been guarding the border this time, I really don't know how things would have turned out. Fortunately, your father is worthy of my trust. I will consider the people in the court carefully. If there are people who are worthy of trust, I will definitely give them the important task. As for those who are not trustworthy, I will treat them equally." Rui Ziying nodded. It was already said that there was no need to stay in this place. As for Man Xiaoxi's matter, she would tell him slowly. It was too hasty to talk about it now. It would make the other party suspicious and even more suspicious of her. It might also involve herself. She would not do such a thing that would not make up for the loss. After returning to her palace, she called Mu Huanchan over. "You have been observing in the palace for a while. Have you made any new discoveries during this period?" Mu Huanchan seemed very excited and said, "I have made quite a few discoveries. Maybe it's because I look good. The little maids in the palace are very happy to share this kind of gossip with me. I have listed all the names of those people. See if there are any trustworthy people." Sure enough, the people discussed by his father and the little maids in the palace were similar. The list looked like the people on the list his father gave him. It seemed that these people were indeed loyal to the court, but Geng Guanyu had never paid any attention to them before. Now, as long as Geng Guanyu paid careful attention, he would find that they were really worthy of being reused. Soon after some investigation, Geng Guanyu selected several people who were worthy of important tasks and promoted them to positions that they could not have reached before. This also made the ministers feel a little flattered, because Geng Guanyu had never paid attention to them before. Now they not only noticed them, but also entrusted them with important tasks. This made them all cheer up and swear to serve the country and Geng Guanyu well. Those who were inexplicably played by Geng Guanyu were naturally unwilling, but when Geng Guanyu listed the evidence of their collusion with the enemy country, they were a little panicked. After Geng Guanyu's actions, the people in the court were panicked, fearing that they would be implicated in the next second, especially those who had other ideas in their hearts, and they immediately stopped doing any small tricks. However, even so, Geng Guanyu did not intend to let them go so easily. He still gave them a very severe warning and demoted them. Geng Guanyu was obviously planning to clean up the house, and the ministers below also understood this and tried to find connections to whitewash themselves. However, Geng Guanyu had been paying attention to them for a long time, so how could he let them go so easily? Since he was planning to attack them, there was no need for him to show mercy to them. They had colluded with people from the enemy country. If he didn't attack them, they would be so reckless that they would want his life in the future. So no matter what the reason was, he would never let them go so easily this time. If it hadn't come to this, he might have turned a blind eye, but now the people in the empire were becoming more and more unscrupulous, and he couldn't just sit there and wait for death. His subjects needed his protection. He had to deal with his own affairs in the court and then concentrate on dealing with the people from the enemy country. As the number of people being dismissed increased, some people gradually became restless. They colluded with people from the enemy country crazily, trying to use the enemy country's means to regain their boyfriend's trust or leave this place early. They knew that Geng Guanyu had been completely irritated. If they continued like this, it was very likely that they would be directly found out, and it would not be so easy to escape at that time. Then why didn't they think of this? They had already made preparations to fight them. Naturally, they would not let them go so easily. When they finally couldn't help but contact the enemy country, they were completely finished. Chapter 111, Making Up for Mistakes. However, Geng Guanyu was actually waiting for them to contact the people of the empire. As long as they contacted the empire, he would have the opportunity to make them completely unable to turn over. Prime Minister Li, who was the prime minister of the dynasty at the same time as Yu Zufei, packed up his bags and had no time to run away before he was surrounded by heavy troops. Even when facing such a scene, he still maintained his composure, not inferior to usual. He looked at those people coldly, and then said, "What do you want to do?" It happened that Rui Ziying appeared in front of him at this time, and said with a smile, "No one should know what we want to do better than you, Prime Minister Li." Is Prime Minister Li packing up and want to run away? It's a pity that the Emperor trusted you so much before, but it turned out that you are an undercover sent by the Empire. The fact that you can reach the position of Prime Minister proves that you have some brains. You should know that choosing to do poorly in the exam at this time will be very disadvantageous for you, but you still chose to do so. This only shows that you have no other choice but to run away. You know that you have done something wrong, and you also know that what you have done cannot be forgiven by the Emperor, but since you understand this truth, why did you betray the Emperor in the first place? Is it because the Emperor just ascended the throne not long ago? But he has put you in this position of authority after all. If it weren't for him, do you think you can be as free and easy as you are now? When the country is in trouble, every citizen has a duty. You are a prime minister, but after meeting my father, you only wanted to pack up and leave. Haven't you considered the people? When an enemy country invades, the most affected are the ordinary people. The previous poisoning incident has already confused them. Now this kind of thing has happened. Are you planning to make them completely dead? I've seen many cruel people, but this is the first time I've seen someone as cruel as you. It's not an exaggeration to describe you as a wolf in blood. The Emperor actually knows all the dirty things you have done, but because of your important position, no one has ever done anything to you from beginning to end. But now you want to run away, so let's settle the new and old accounts together. Prime Minister Li looked at Rui Ziying in disbelief, but still looked righteous and said, "What dirty things I did in the past, how could I not know? You are settling old and new accounts together? Then I want to see what accounts the Queen wants to settle with me. You, a person from the harem, come to interfere in the affairs of the previous dynasty. Aren't you overstepping your boundaries? The fact that the current emperor can allow a woman like you to have such great power is enough to show that he is not worthy of sitting on the throne. I just want to end the suffering of the people in advance. Why didn't I consider them? When the people from the neighboring country break in, this country will fall, and then they can live a better life." He spoke very logically, obviously not realizing how his actions had harmed ordinary civilians. He didn't even feel any guilt at all. He only thought that he had done nothing wrong. He defected to the people of the enemy country. As long as the people of the enemy country ruled the country, ordinary civilians would be able to live a better life. Then he didn't realize what kind of crisis these ordinary people would encounter after the fifth people came in. They would watch their homes destroyed. After being set foot by people from other countries, they would always be ruled. However, Prime Minister Li would never encounter all that, so he could say such righteous words in a high-sounding manner, and he didn't mean to take the lives of ordinary people into consideration at all. Because he was high above, he would not encounter all that, so he naturally thought that ordinary civilians could live the same life as him. However, the people of the enemy country could give him generous treatment, but it was impossible for ordinary civilians to live a comfortable life. In order to completely rule the country and eliminate future troubles, they might even massacre the city. At that time, these people would face a catastrophe. They had no ability to resist at all, and they had no strength to fight against those soldiers. They could only be slaughtered. Rui Ziying said angrily, "What you understand is crazy. Do you think that ordinary civilians live the same life as you? You can go to the civilian area and see what kind of life they live, and then look at you, how luxurious you are now. Don't forget that everything you have now is the result given to you by the emperor. You take the generous treatment given to you by the emperor but do nothing, and even cause such a big hidden danger to ordinary civilians. How do you think I should punish you? The emperor has handed the task of punishing you to me. It's not that I have overstepped my boundaries, nor is it that the emperor trusts me so much, but that I have the strength to punish you. If I guess correctly, you should have been the one who suggested that I leave the palace, right? Why did you let me leave the palace? Was it to break up our emperor and prevent me from giving him advice so that you can break them up one by one, or do you have other plans? As Rui Ziying approached step by step, Prime Minister Li finally showed a look of fear on his face. He found that Rui Ziying was not as easy to deal with as he imagined. It can even be said that Rui Ziying was more terrifying than the emperor. Geng Guanyu had his own pride. He would take on that responsibility when he sat on the dragon throne. However, Rui Ziying was different. She could completely display the sunset without any doubt, leaving no room for it, and no one would say anything. But the emperor would have many concerns. Even if he could directly behead people and kill them, he would still care about the opinions of ordinary people. And he did a good job on the surface before. Even if there were mistakes in the current places, there would still be people standing on his side to speak for him. Geng Guanyu handed this task to Rui Ziying. Rui Ziying had accumulated a lot of popularity before when she left the palace to treat her illness. If Rui Ziying attacked him at this time, no one would stand on his side to speak for him. Instead, they would think that he had done something extremely outrageous, which made Rui Ziying so cruel to him next time. After all, Rui Ziying had taken great pains to help them cure their illnesses, and she was such a kind person. Chapter 112 Flaw. Under this situation, it is very disadvantageous for him, but he has no other way. He can only continue to fight against Rui Ziying and try to get away with it. The queen is too much? I have never thought of betraying the emperor. I let you leave the palace just to let you share the burden for the emperor. What's more, your majesty, haven't you done a good job? I think you should thank me for giving you such a good opportunity, instead of blindly condemning me here. If it weren't for my proposal, how could you get the support of the common people? Everything you have now is due to my contribution. You can't cross the river and burn the bridge. After leaving here, you will find ways to attack me. He was about to die, but he was still quibbling here. Rui Ziying couldn't help but laugh at him, and then said, "Do you think I can't do anything to you? If I really want your life, then no matter who comes, it will be useless. You don't have to delay time for me here. Just tell me the truth. Are you packing up and want to run away?" Prime Minister Li was indeed planning to run away, but he naturally couldn't tell Rui Ziying about such an important matter. He just said, "How could I have to run away? In the face of national crisis, I should stay and face it together with you. Queen, you have misunderstood me. Even if you give me 10 courages, I can't abandon the civilians and run away in this situation. How can you slander me?" His attitude was completely different from just now. Just now he was still constantly arguing for himself, but now he has completely turned into a sophistry, and put all the responsibilities on Rui Ziying, as if Rui Ziying had wronged him. In fact, he knew in his heart that Rui Ziying had sent people to surround his house. It was absolutely impossible for him to run away at this time. Since he had to stay, he must of course whitewash his reputation well to avoid any bad rumors in the future. Then he might not be able to sit in the position of Prime Minister for long. Rui Ziying was amused by his reaction. "I'm slandering you? You have already packed your things and are ready to run away, so why should I come here to slander you? If you really didn't do anything, how could the emperor suspect you? Dare to do but not to take responsibility. Is this your style, Prime Minister Li? I heard a long time ago that you, Prime Minister Li, are an upright person. Now facing such a thing, you actually keep saying I'm slandering you. I don't know whether you are upright or not, but there is one thing I can be sure of. You used to protect your reputation. Since you protect your reputation so much, why bother to argue with me here and now? You continue to delay time and cannot admit your evil deeds. I will bring the evidence later. If you want to argue again, you will have no chance," Prime Minister Li said calmly. "Since the Queen said you already have evidence, you might as well use the evidence directly. Before the evidence arrives, I will not believe a word you say," Rui Ziying sighed. Although she had guessed that he would not admit what he had done, she never expected that the other party would be so unreasonable. She had already said so much and left him at the door, but he still had reasons to defend himself. It was indeed a cunning old man who could get to the position of Prime Minister, which was enough to prove that he was not so easy to deal with. Geng Guanyu probably sent her here because of this. Because he knew that he was not easy to deal with and was worried about sending other people, he deliberately targeted her. Although this opponent was a little troublesome, Rui Ziying still did not admit the problem. Soon Mu Huanshan came and got all the evidence about Prime Minister Li's betrayal from Geng Guanyu. In the face of absolute evidence, Li Cheng's quibbling was no use. At this time, he was still thinking about escaping. He found that the soldiers brought by Rui Ziying were not freeloaders, and they quickly stopped him. Rui Ziying walked up to him and said nonchalantly, "Prime Minister Li, it's not that I didn't give you a chance, it's just that you didn't grasp it well. Since you are so overestimating yourself, you can't blame me for not giving you face. Just now, when the evidence was not brought to you, you asked me for evidence. Now that the evidence is in front of you, you are thinking about escaping. It's already early morning and you still refuse to admit what you did? As long as you tell me honestly what you did, I can guarantee that your family will not be implicated by you. Anyone who has experienced despair wants to protect his family. Even if he knows that he is about to die, he still wants to leave a way for his family to live." Rui Ziying dared to say the words of protecting his family in this situation because she understood his hot psychology. Although Rui Ziying said that he would spare his family's life, she didn't say that he would let his family live well as before. Prime Minister Li was obviously desperate and did not realize the flaws in Rui Ziying's words. "As long as you can spare my family, I can tell you what the enemy wants to do." He was able to sneak into the enemy's camp as the prime minister, and the other party naturally gave him a certain amount of trust, so he knew a lot about the other party. Now as long as he is willing to confess, the enemy's plan will definitely not be implemented. What Rui Ziying didn't know was that it wasn't long after Prime Minister Li was captured that the first person had successfully obtained the news and made the next plan. They expected that Prime Minister Li would definitely betray them. After all, they knew exactly what kind of person Prime Minister Li was. They had temporarily cancelled all the plans that Prime Minister Li knew before, and they didn't intend to reveal any flaws. They decided to let those who were lurking around Geng Guanyu. As long as they stayed there honestly and didn't reveal any flaws, Geng Guanyu would not dare to do it even if he knew they had other bad intentions. It would be easy for them to take action. Their current plan has not been implemented yet, so they can only continue to endure it. When the time is right, it won't be too late for them to take action. Anyway, they have absolute confidence. Chapter 113, Short-sightedness. They already had some experience in dealing with Geng Guanyu, and they also knew what kind of personality Geng Guanyu had. They thought they could completely control Geng Guanyu, but what they didn't expect was that there was already Rui Ziying beside Geng Guanyu. Rui Ziying's appearance was completely beyond their expectations. He didn't take Rui Ziying, a woman, seriously at all. In their opinion, no matter how powerful a woman was, she could never stir up any waves. After all, it was a taboo for women to be in power. No matter how smart Rui Ziying was, she could only stay in the harem, and it was not her turn to intervene in the affairs of the court. If she dared to intervene, then they didn't need to do anything at all. People in the court would be dissatisfied and give Geng Guanyu suggestions. As more and more people made suggestions, Geng Guanyu and Rui Ziying's relationship was good, and they would inevitably become suspicious. By then, the two of them had already begun to have conflicts from the inside, and naturally there was no need for a third person to interfere in the affairs between them. Rui Ziying had already learned about the enemy's conspiracy from Prime Minister Li, but at this time Prime Minister Li said to her, "The people of the enemy country are cunning and must have known that I was captured by you. It won't be long before they change their plans. So what I just said is actually of no use to you. Instead of focusing on how to deal with your own people, you might as well think about how to deal with the enemy's people." His words were a bit sarcastic, as if he was blaming Rui Ziying for taking action against him, instead of focusing on the actions of the empire. He even looked down on Rui Ziying. Rui Ziying didn't mean to take his words to heart at all. She just smiled casually and said, "All I want is for you to give me an answer. As for how credible your words are, I will naturally weigh them myself. Also, I will decide what the enemy country will do. Don't worry, since I promised to keep your family safe, I will definitely not let the emperor do anything to them." Prime Minister Li finally breathed a sigh of relief when he heard this. He seemed to feel that what he had just said was not in vain. He nodded calmly and said, "I admit that I did do a lot of things that let the emperor down, and I let down the trust of ordinary friends. You have promised to protect my family, so I will naturally accept your punishment." He was not the kind of unreasonable person. In the face of justice, he still chose his family. After all, he still had his own children. People thought that it would not take long for them to take their families and children away from this place, but they did not expect that they would fall into their hands. In this way, the plan to leave would definitely not be implemented, so it would be better to choose to compromise. He was willing to take a gamble, betting on whether Rui Ziying had any humanity. As long as Rui Ziying still had a little humanity, she would never do anything to his family. Now it seems that he should have made the right bet. As long as Rui Ziying was the kind of person who kept her word, his family would not be in any danger. As for how they would live in the future, it would depend on their own luck. It was just that his own reasons would have some impact on his children's work sooner or later, but he believed that his wife would be able to train the children to be talented. Moreover, it was still unknown how long the emperor could sit in this position. Maybe when his children grew up, the current country would have changed hands, and his children would still have the chance to have a chance. He took a deep breath, looking as if he was ready to die, as if waiting for Rui Ziying's next sanction. Rui Ziying did not disappoint him and soon said it. Since your family has been arranged, the punishment you deserve should also be implemented. You can't keep delaying it. You have been in the position of Prime Minister for such a long time, and you must have your own power. As long as you promise to hand over your power, I can guarantee that your children will not be affected by you in any way. Prime Minister Li blinked after hearing this, as if he thought this condition was very practical. Just now he was worried that his children would be affected because of him, and now the condition given by the makeup obviously met his wishes, so he nodded without hesitation, and then took out paper and pen to write down a list. After finishing writing, he handed the list to Rui Ziying, and then said, "The people in it are all my good friends who have traveled with me all these years. They have also defected to the enemy country like me. I don't want to harm them, but I hope you can give them a chance. If they are willing to change their minds, then it would be the best. But if they are not willing, then I have no other way." Rui Ziying felt a little funny. Sure enough, in the face of life-threatening danger, everyone would choose selfishness instead of preserving the so-called carelessness, especially people like Prime Minister Li. He just said so much nonsense here, and I thought he was so righteous, but I didn't expect that he would betray those brothers who accompanied him through life and death in order to save his family. She laughed at it, but she still clicked the picture seriously. After all, it was a trap she set, and now it was time to close the net. At this critical moment, she naturally wouldn't say anything unpleasant to provoke him. Prime Minister Li finally seemed to have no regrets, and closed his eyes tiredly. Then Rui Ziying said, "Since I have fallen into your hands, I will do my best. Anyway, I have explained everything I should explain. As long as you can keep my family, I will die without regrets in this life." Rui Ziying said frankly, "Don't worry, I won't do anything to you. I just want to hand you over to the emperor and let him deal with you. After all, you are his person, and I have no reason to deal with you on my own." After listening to Rui Ziying's words, Prime Minister Li couldn't help but look at her more, as if he thought of something and suddenly smiled infuriatingly, and then said, "I thought the relationship between you and the emperor was not very good, but I didn't expect that you actually respected each other to this extent. No wonder he asked you to investigate things about me. It seems that I was short-sighted and underestimated the feelings between you." Chapter 114 Apology. Rui Ziying didn't agree with what he said. After all, her relationship with Geng Guanyu was not as good as he said. But if it was bad, it wasn't that bad. At most, it was just a little better than before. She had Prime Minister Li arrested and took him to see Geng Guanyu. After Geng Guanyu saw Prime Minister Li, an angry look appeared on his face. He really believed in this person before, but he didn't expect that he would lurk around him for such a long time and keep informing the enemy. It can be said that if there was no such person, the enemy would not be able to invade their country so easily. She is now a great contributor to the result, because she did help the enemy a lot. If it weren't for her, the enemy might have to go through a lot of trouble. When she thought of this, she couldn't bear it anymore. She walked towards Prime Minister Li and kicked her hard, as if only this could relieve her hatred. Prime Minister Li was kicked to the ground. He looked up at Geng Guanyu and said, "Your Majesty, there is no need to be so angry. I did betray you, but why did I do that? Don't you understand at all? If you have really fulfilled the responsibilities of an emperor, I will not betray you. It's just that I no longer see any hope with you, so I turned to another country." Geng Guanyu sneered and said, "Do you mean to say that I betrayed more than you? Prime Minister Li is worthy of being the Prime Minister. No matter how wrong he has done, he can find a good reason to clear himself and even put the blame on others. I thought I treated you well over the years and let you sit in the position of Prime Minister and do whatever you want, but in the end you still failed my expectations of you. In fact, I have always attached great importance to your decisions before, and I would ask for your opinion on everything. I never expected that you are a spy sent by the enemy country to be by my side." She was so disappointed this time. The people she trusted before all betrayed her in the end. On the contrary, those people she didn't trust before were all loyal. She was like a blind person before. If it weren't for Rui Ziying, she might not be able to see her true face until now. She was able to set up all these people in a short time. Rui Ziying played an indispensable role. She had made up her mind that after this matter was over, she must thank Rui Ziying well. Even if Rui Ziying didn't accept her kindness, at least she had to meet her requirements in terms of materials. She couldn't help but look in the direction of Rui Ziying, but the other party looked at her nose and heart, as if she had never thought about participating in the punishment of Prime Minister Li. It must be said that Rui Ziying is very similar to Rui Ziying in this respect. When she encountered something, she was exactly the same as Rui Ziying. She would help herself solve it silently, but would not say anything to ask for credit. In fact, now think about it, these talents are the most precious. If she had quietly paid attention to these people from the beginning and trusted them instead of blindly believing the words of those treacherous ministers, perhaps their country would not have ended up like this. Prime Minister Li was right. She was fully responsible for the current state of their country. She did not manage her country well and did not fulfill her responsibilities as a person in this position. After handing Prime Minister Li over to Geng Guanyu, Rui Ziying stayed in her place. After staying too long, she soon said goodbye and left and returned to her palace. What she never expected was that Man Ziying had been waiting for her for a long time. Seeing her coming back, she came out with a look of surprise and said happily, "Sister, you are finally back. I have been waiting for you here for a long time." It seems that sister has been too busy recently and doesn't even come back to her own palace often. She didn't think that her relationship with the other party was good enough to need to greet each other, so she asked directly and impolitely, "Sister, why are you here instead of staying in your own space?" She saw that the other party brought a lot of things and filled up her yard. She was even more confused about the other party's purpose here. Logically, the two of them should be in a competitive relationship, although she didn't think that Man Ziying had this idea. After all, you really don't have any idea about the emperor, and you don't have any intention of possessing him. Although she has achieved the position of queen, her feelings for Geng Guanyu are so weak that it can be said that she is almost non-existent. She is just maintaining the surface. However, even if she just maintained her superficial efforts, she still got involved in some bad things. If she really had a mutual understanding with Geng Guanyu, there would definitely be more trouble in the future. So in order to stay in this place, she should try not to get involved too much with basketball. After this matter is resolved, they will continue to go their separate ways. She will be a good emperor and she will be a good queen. That's enough. As for the matter of giving birth to a child mentioned by the queen mother, such an important task should be left to the woman in front of her. She must be happy to give birth to a child for Geng Guanyu. He rubbed his temples with a headache and asked, "I've been really busy recently, so just say whatever you want to say. There's no need to beat around the bush. There's no need to send so many things to me. I have everything I need and I don't need anything. You worked so hard to have people send them here, but in the end I still have to find someone to send you back. It's too much trouble." Man Ziying waved her hands hurriedly and said politely, "No, sister, you don't have to send these things back to me. I sent these things voluntarily. I know the sister across the street has been working too hard, so I specially sent some things to you to replenish your body. Only when your body is fine can you help the emperor more. I know we had some unpleasant things before, but I hope I can forgive myself. I won't cause trouble for you again, nor will I treat you badly because of the emperor. I want to live in peace with you. Are you willing to give me this opportunity? Let me make up for my previous mistakes. Will you forgive me?" Chapter 115, Failure to Fulfill the Duties of a Concubine. Rui Ziying looked at her in surprise, not understanding whether what she said was true or false, but seeing her eager eyes, she finally chose to believe her. She said lightly, "In fact, the relationship between us is not as bad as you think. At least I have no opinion on you. Maybe there were some unpleasantness between us because of Emperor Yinou's matter, but I don't mean to bother with you, so just take these things back. I'm really too busy recently and have no time to deal with them. Don't bother me with other things. I have appreciated your kindness, but I don't think I need to accept these things you sent. After this incident, the emperor also sent me a lot of things. I have everything I need. It is completely unnecessary for you to send these things. On the contrary, if you want to build a good relationship with me directly, as the sister, I should be the one to give the gifts." Manziosi shook her head and said firmly, "Since I have already sent these things, I naturally have no intention of taking them back. The people in my palace watched me send these things out. If I just take them back like this, they will definitely teach me a lesson behind my back. You and your sister don't want to see them talking about me behind my back, right? Now that it has come to this, you probably can't refuse to accept it. Besides, she is really tired now. She just wants to have a good rest. She doesn't have time to continue to talk to her here." So after careful consideration, in order to get rid of the other party as soon as possible, she decided to ask someone to come and put these things away. "You all come and move these things in, and then invite the imperial concubine in for tea." Manziosi saw that Rui Ziying's attitude finally improved a little, and she couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. She thought Rui Ziying would deliberately embarrass her, but she thought that the other party was quite easy to get along with. In fact, thinking about it carefully, Rui Ziying really didn't regard her as an enemy. She didn't even bother to care so much with her. Instead, she used to judge others by her own standards and mistakenly thought that Rui Ziying wanted to snatch Geng Guanyu from her. But in fact, even if Rui Ziying didn't snatch, she was better in some ways. In the past, she thought that Rui Ziying's proficiency in music, chess, calligraphy and painting was completely fake, but now she is sure that Rui Ziying is not only proficient in music, chess, calligraphy and painting, but also can help Geng Guanyu more in some ways. On the contrary, not only can she not help Geng Guanyu in any way, but she also blindly causes trouble for her. Even recently, for some reason, the Queen Mother's attitude towards her has become a little cold, no longer as enthusiastic as before. At first, she thought it was because of Rui Ziying, but later she investigated Rui Ziying's whereabouts and found that Rui Ziying had no intersection with the Queen Mother Yao recently. The only time they met was when she came to Rui Ziying for a meeting, and it was said that she didn't mention any extra topics for the sake of stimulating the birth. And with Rui Ziying's personality, it is impossible for her to complain to the Queen Mother, so she thinks the problem lies with herself and is thinking carefully about how to please the Queen Mother. The Queen Mother is her only trump card now. As long as she takes down the Queen Mother, the next things will become much simpler. Rui Ziying poured tea herself, which made Manziosi a little flattered. She stood up quickly and said, "Sister, let me do it. How can I let you pour tea for me? Your younger sister should come during this period. You are already a great hero in the Emperor's heart. If the Emperor knew that you were serving me tea, he would definitely not be angry." What she said was really strange. Rui Ziying thought about it for a long time, but she didn't understand what she meant. In the end, she could only hand the teapot to the other party and said, "In fact, there is no need for us to be so polite. We just need to get along like ordinary sisters." I think this is also the scene that the Emperor wants to see the most. Now there are only two of us in the Emperor's entire harem. If the two of us still have a lot of conflicts like many concubines, then the Emperor should have a headache. Manziosi nodded and said in agreement, "I thought so too, so I wanted to reconcile with my sister." Rutru hopes to relieve the Emperor of his worries. After all, the enemy's affairs have been a headache for the Emperor during this period. Every time I see the Emperor working so hard, I feel particularly distressed. Sister has the same idea as me. Rui Ziying just smiled. In fact, she didn't have any ideas at all. No matter what Geng Guanyu becomes, it has nothing to do with her. She just wants to protect herself now. As for Geng Guanyu, it's not her turn to worry about it, okay? There are so many people who feel sorry for Geng Guanyu. What does it have to do with herself? Protecting herself is the most important thing. The woman in front of her obviously didn't realize this. She was still worrying about Geng Guanyu. However, in fact, no matter how bad the other party's life is, it is many times better than theirs. It is completely unnecessary to worry about Geng Guanyu. I don't think we need to worry about the Emperor. Even if the Emperor's life is not going well, it must be more comfortable than ours. Instead of worrying about others, you might as well worry about yourself. Now the enemy country has made things difficult for the Emperor, which is equivalent to making things difficult for us. If the Emperor can't make it, then our situation will become more critical. This is one of the reasons why I help the Emperor. It's not because there are so many people who feel sorry for the Emperor. Who will feel sorry for me? Only I will feel sorry for myself. You can feel sorry for the emperor, but you can't forget to feel sorry for yourself, otherwise you're too stupid. It will not do you any good to just try to be a man in the end. Man Ziying felt that Rui Ziying's words made a lot of sense after hearing them. She nodded deeply and then said, "What my sister said makes a lot of sense. I also think that it is better to love ourselves than to love a man. It's just that we are the emperor's concubines. Everything we have now is given to us by the emperor. If the emperor encounters a crisis and we cannot help him and ignore him, then we have not fulfilled our responsibilities as concubines at all." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116, Pointing the Way. Rui Ziying felt that the other party was scolding her in a roundabout way when she heard these words, but she couldn't find any reason at the moment, so she could only smile awkwardly and then said, "What my sister said actually makes some sense. Since my sister has her own ideas, I won't worry about you. I thought you were so devoted to the emperor that you would sacrifice yourself. We women should help and protect each other. You torture yourself to the point of being neither human nor ghost for a few stinky men. That's really a loss. I think my sister should understand what I mean by the truth. I have said everything I should say. If you don't mind, you can stay for a meal." Man Ziying actually agreed without any hesitation, and then said, "I know your paintings have always been good, and I've always wanted to come here for a meal, but there's no suitable opportunity. Recently, my sister has been too busy, and I can't make such a shameless request. Since my sister has already invited me, then I will stay. I want to try what kind of cooking skills make the emperor forget his time." Rui Ziying nodded with a smile, and then went to the kitchen to cook. Man Ziying was waiting outside and couldn't help but walk around the yard. Rui Ziying's environment here is much better than her own. Although she is now a concubine, the concubine is 2 levels lower than the queen. The treatment is indeed much worse. In addition, Rui Ziying has her natal family to rely on. Her natal family must have sent her a lot of things every year and festival. When she thought of this, she suddenly felt that she was alone and a little pitiful. She had neither her natal family to rely on nor Geng Guanyu's love. The most important point is that she has chosen to betray the empire. In this way, if something really happened, her situation would be difficult and she would be killed by the enemy. Although she didn't know much about the enemy country, the enemy's people must be ruthless to traitors, so she didn't dare to reveal any flaws now, for fear that the enemy would know that she had successfully defected to Geng Guanyu. If they really knew this, then she would be on the verge of death, and there would be no room for return. In that case, Geng Guanyu would definitely protect the country first, not himself. Just like Rui Ziying said, as a woman, you should protect yourself and think for yourself, instead of working hard for a man and not getting any benefits in the end. She really likes Geng Guanyu to the point that she is willing to give up herself for him, but after listening to Rui Ziying's words just now, she has come to her senses. She thinks Rui Ziying's words make sense. Only when a woman has gained enough benefits for herself can she like the person she loves better. There was already a fragrance wafting from the kitchen. She walked towards that place happily and saw Rui Ziying busy in the kitchen. There were 2 palace maids around her helping her, and the person who actually cooked was Rui Ziying. She felt more and more that the gap between her and Rui Ziying was getting bigger and bigger. Rui Ziying was not only good at temper and speaking, but also good at going to the hall and the kitchen, and leading troops to fight was no problem at all. Compared with the other party, she seemed to be nothing, and could only do whatever she wanted in the palace with the protection of others. The only thing she could do was to pin all her hopes on Geng Guanyu and give Geng Guanyu the best care. Sister is indeed virtuous and kind. I will never catch up with her in my whole life. After hearing this, Rui Ziying said with a smile, everyone's existence must have her value. You don't have to think about catching up with me. Catching up with me has no meaning to you. Instead of thinking about how to catch up with me, you might as well think about how to improve yourself. In this kind of situation, you'd better be able to seek benefits for yourself and become a valuable existence, otherwise it's easy to be abandoned and become a discarded child. This sentence really touched Man Ziying's mind. She had been worrying about not having family to protect her. Unexpectedly, Rui Ziying gave her away now. As long as she can make use of her value, Geng Guanyu will lend a hand to her even if she is hunted by the enemy country. When she thought of this, a smile immediately appeared on her face, and then she said, "Sister is right, thank you for your guidance. With your words just now, I have suddenly become enlightened, and I also know what my next step should be. Sister, you lead the troops to fight outside to help the Emperor, and I will take good care of the Emperor in the palace. There must be someone to take care of the Emperor's daily life so that the Emperor will not work too hard. Although I can't solve the Emperor's problems for him, I can take good care of her health, and let sister not worry so much." Rui Ziying really wanted to say that she was not worried at all, and she was just thinking too much, but if Hua really said it, it would change the meaning, so she forced the words back. She smiled awkwardly and said, "It's great that you understand what I mean. It's not impossible for you to take care of the Emperor in the palace, but the Emperor's personality is really weird. You can be nice to the Emperor, but you can't please him, otherwise he will look down on you." Manziosi nodded weakly. She really hadn't noticed this before, but soon she felt that Rui Ziying was right. As long as she had a humble attitude towards Geng Guanyu, the other party would definitely be arrogant. "Thank you for your advice, sister. I will help you. You go down." She decided to help Rui Ziying and get more useful clues from Rui Ziying. She felt that every word Rui Ziying said could enlighten her and make her thinking clearer. How to go in the future depends on Rui Ziying. Rui Ziying is not a stingy person. After knowing the other party's thoughts, she is naturally willing to guide her. After all, she is from another world. In some ways, she also knows how to think better for herself. Instead of being blindly in love, people in this world can only rely on men. This is their deep-rooted thinking, and it cannot be changed. Chapter 117. Don't you like the Emperor? Sister, don't you like the Emperor at all? After hearing her question, Yu looked back at her with some surprise, and said, "Why do you ask that?" Manziosi told the truth. "I always feel that your attitude towards the Emperor is too cold, as if she has no feelings at all. So I couldn't help asking because I was curious. If it is not convenient for you to answer, you don't have to tell me. It is impossible not to answer. If you don't come back, the other party might make random guesses. If she thinks of some bad results, it will be even more inappropriate for her." So she gave the other party a very official answer. "I personally think that no one in this world will dislike the Emperor. Even if they don't have real feelings for the Emperor, they will like the power and status that the Emperor brings us. Don't you think so?" Manziosi nodded seriously, and actually felt that what Rui Ziying said made sense, and then said, "Sister is right, there is indeed no one in this world who doesn't like the Emperor. The Emperor brings us not only money and status, but the most important point is that he can give us an inexplicable sense of security and let us rely on him. Even an ordinary person will feel particularly safe after hearing the title of Emperor. I think I am too dependent on the Emperor, so I have this kind of tormenting feeling. In fact, I don't love the Emperor." Rui Ziying couldn't help laughing after hearing this, looked back at her, and then told her very seriously, "It's best not to let others hear what you said to me today. You have to be careful that there are ears on the other side of the wall. If the Emperor knows that the two of us don't have any real feelings for him, then I think the Emperor will go crazy." Manziosi also felt that Rui Ziying's words made sense, and she regarded Rui Ziying as her confidant more and more. She said seriously, "Sister, you are right. I will definitely think about this matter carefully. I will definitely not say this in front of the Emperor. I just think that sister is enough for me to give my heart, so I will say it in front of sister. I can't help the Emperor or sister this time, but there is one thing, sister, you can rest assured. As long as there is something I can help with, I will never shirk any responsibility. I will definitely take my due responsibilities." Rui Ziying nodded. She didn't take her words to heart. On the contrary, she thought of King Yanlin's affairs. She was too busy recently and couldn't take care of the things between the two of them. Now she thinks that King Yanlin should have fallen in love with Manziosi. But why did the development of the plot exceed her expectations? The two of them seemed to have no signs of being together, and they had no intention of being together. Could it be that the plot she saw before had changed because of her arrival? King Yanlin rarely appears in the palace now. He has no signs of pestering her, nor has he fallen in love with Manziosi. From this point, it is enough to see that the plot has changed a lot because of her arrival. If it continues like this, who knows what the final plot will be like? She suddenly remembered the task assigned by the system, and then said, "You'd better be honest recently. Don't say anything extra in front of the Emperor. The emperor is wary of you now because he knows that you are a spy from the enemy country. In fact, he has never trusted you. In some ways, he is more using you. After listening to Rui Ziying's words, Manziosi lowered her head with some sadness, and then said, in fact, I have always known that I know that the emperor actually has only you, my sister, in his heart, but I just can't control my desire to get close to the emperor. In fact, I also understand that my feelings are very complicated. I know that I can't get it, but I can't help but hope for it. I can't tell whether the emperor and I love or admire each other, but one thing is certain, that I don't want to go back to the environment where I lived before. I want to stay with the emperor forever. Sister will help me, right? After hearing this, Rui Ziying felt a little puzzled. She had no obligation to help her, but the other party had already said so much. If she did not agree to help, it would be unreasonable. In the end, she could only nod helplessly and said, if you think I can help, then I will naturally help, but I personally think that although I can help you in some ways, I don't really want to interfere in your feelings, so you still need to solve this matter by yourself. I have too many things to do recently and can't take care of other things at all. You have to protect yourself. The only advice I can give you is that it is best not to treat someone like the emperor with sincerity. You can be nice to her, but you can't give her your heart, otherwise you will only get hurt in the end. Manziosi nodded seriously. I know that sister has said all she has said. It is not easy. Even if I really get hurt in the future, I can't blame you at all. After all, it is my own fault and it has nothing to do with you. Sister has already reminded me. Rui Ziying was of course happy that she could think this way. The other party suddenly came to her senses and no longer regarded her as an enemy. In some ways, she could breathe a sigh of relief and no longer have to think about the palace fight. Especially in the current situation with internal and external troubles, if there is a palace fight, then she really can't cope with it. Fortunately, the other party has already come to her senses, so she doesn't need to worry about it anymore. Halfway through the meal, Mu Huanjun also came and reported a useful situation to Rui Ziying. The emperor has cleared most of the traitors in the court recently. Now people are panicking. I believe they dare not do anything to hurt our country easily. This is indeed good news for Rui Ziying. She breathed a sigh of relief and said, the emperor finally did something useful. I suspected that he had some problems with his brain for the things he did before. I was planning to ask you to help him. Now he has finally come to his senses. After solving the problems in the court, other things will become much simpler, and I won't need to worry about them at that time. Chapter 118 Poison Oath. Seeing Rui Ziying like this, Manziosi suddenly found it funny, and couldn't understand why she used to regard Rui Ziying as an enemy. Rui Ziying was obviously someone she could get along with very well. The most important point is that Rui Ziying really didn't have that kind of thought about Geng Guanyu. She actually used to regard Rui Ziying as a mortal enemy. Now thinking about it, it's ridiculous. Fortunately, she figured it out later, otherwise she might not be able to face Rui Ziying. She looked at Mu Huanjun and said, the little genius doctor has been valued by the emperor recently. Even I have heard of your name. I think the emperor trusts you very much. Mu Huanjun nodded indifferently, and then said, I don't care whether the emperor has entrusted me with important tasks. After all, I am fighting for our country, not for the emperor. Manziosi couldn't help but take a closer look. As expected of someone who followed Rui Ziying, even her ideas were exactly the same as Rui Ziying's, without any deviation. She couldn't help but feel a little admiration in her heart. As expected of someone brought up by my sister, you share the same idea as my sister. I hope that in the future I can communicate for our country like you, not for the emperor. Now I am still confused and have not come out of this relationship, but I believe that with my sister's teaching today, I will live up to everyone's expectations in the future. Mu Huanjun gave her an encouraging look and said seriously, it would be great if you really think so. Do you call the queen sister? Then I will call you sister in the future, so that the distance between us can be closer. Anyway, I am much younger than you, and you will not suffer any loss if I call you sister. Rui Ziying naturally had no objection to the address, so after she said this, she nodded in agreement. Call me whatever you want, as long as you can complete half of the tasks assigned to you perfectly. You can just say you are calling me sister. I have no objection. Although Rui Ziying didn't have any misunderstandings or opinions, it was obvious that the other party had strong opinions. He said with some disgust, of course you have no objection, but if you say that, then you are taking advantage of me. You are obviously so much older than me, but calling yourself like that makes you look a lot younger and makes me look old. Seeing that the other party cared so much about the issue of address, you said with a smile, have you been a little spoiled recently? I remember that you were still very restrained when you attacked just now, but now you can have the final say in front of me. You are becoming more and more presumptuous. Have you forgotten that I am the queen after all, and I still have to abide by the rules in the palace, especially in front of the imperial concubine? Manziosi waved her phone nonchalantly and defended herself. You don't have to care about the issue of address in front of me. I can't mention this matter in front of the emperor. I am already honored to join your side, sisters. I will never betray the organization. Mu Huanjun was a very honest child. When he heard her words, he immediately said with some disapproval, but I heard that you are an undercover sent by Li Guo. You have betrayed the enemy country and defected to the emperor before. How can we be sure that you will betray us and defect to the emperor in the future? After all, you have already had a precedent. Friendship will definitely have to. What if you betray us in the future? How can we trust you? Rui Ziying really didn't know how to save the situation. She didn't know what Manziosi said. What kind of thoughts did she have after hearing this? Anyway, if it were me, I would definitely be very happy. This child is really too honest. I really don't dare to say anything in front of others. If the other party's temper is a little worse, it is possible to slap her now, especially Manziosi's status is quite high. After all, there must be no simple person who can sit in the position of imperial concubine, otherwise she would not come to me now. If Manziosi didn't have some ulterior motives, she wouldn't have come to my side at such a critical juncture. This only proves that she wants to find a reliable backer for herself. Only in this way can she live better, because she has discovered that the emperor's mind is not on her. If she doesn't find a backer for herself, then if something really happens in the future, she will be the one who is abandoned, and there will be no room for return. The only way waiting for her in the future is death. Manziosi is a smart person after all, and she will never watch such a thing happen, so she wants to come to me and be my backer. Even if the matter is exposed in the future, she can successfully escape with the help of my hands. The smile on Manziosi's face froze for a moment, and then she said seriously, I can guarantee that every word I said just now is serious. Sister, you won't believe me, will you? Rui Ziying was a little embarrassed for a moment, and didn't know how to explain to her, so she could only say, I don't mean to doubt you, but what Mu Huanshan said is right. You do have a precedent. If you want us to believe, you must produce some evidence. Manziosi sighed, and then said, actually, I know that it is normal for you sisters not to believe me. After all, the things I did before are indeed not worthy of your trust, but this time I think I am serious. If I betray you, then let me be struck by lightning. Now that things have come to this, Rui Ziying can't continue to doubt no matter how confused she is, not to mention that she doesn't care whether the other party will betray her in the future. Anyway, there is nothing shameful about what she did. Even if Manziosi told Geng Guanyu, she could only say that she didn't have any real feelings for him. Even if she said the rest, it wouldn't hurt her at all. She probably wouldn't do such a stupid thing that would hurt others and herself. Manziosi obviously felt relieved, as if her sincerity was finally trusted. She smiled and said to Rui Ziying, I never thought that my sister and I could have such a peaceful coexistence, and I was looking forward to getting my sister's trust and forgiveness. This moment is really wonderful. I didn't dare to dream before. Thank you sister for believing in me. Chapter 119 Attitude is everything. Rui Ziying didn't care, she shook her head and said, after all, we are in the same camp now, and we still have a lot of things to do. We want to help the emperor stabilize her throne. If you are really willing to join us, then we will serve the emperor together in the future. Only by stabilizing the emperor's throne will ordinary civilians no longer encounter wars. Their future days will be smooth and such things will never happen again. Manziosi was obviously moved by Rui Ziying's words. Of course I am happy to serve, but I want to ask my sister to promise me one thing. If I am targeted by the enemy in the future, I hope that my sister will not stand idly by and save me from the water and fire. Even if I am abandoned by the emperor in the end, I hope that my sister can arrange a way out for me so that I won't be displaced. Rui Ziying had already guessed what the other party's purpose was. After hearing her say the purpose, she nodded without hesitation and said very readily, don't worry about this. If that day really comes, I will definitely not stand idly by. As for whether I can save you from danger, it depends on my luck. If my situation is very bad by then, I am afraid I can't save you, but you can rest assured about one thing: as long as I am still alive in this world, I can guarantee that your life will never be threatened in any way. I will also have a good talk with the Emperor about this matter and try to ease the conflict between you two. After all, you have already abandoned the case and it is transparent. There is no need to lose a capable person for your previous identity. The fact that you can go to press the first name shows that you are different from the people in the enemy country. Otherwise, how could you betray the person for the result? I admire your strength and agree with your determination to surrender in Xi'an, so before that, I will definitely take the lead in protecting your life and safety. Man Ziyao was very moved by what Rui Ziying said and nodded seriously. If you say that, I will feel relieved. At the same time, I also hope that you can leave me a way out. I promise that I will never interfere in the affairs between you and Wang Ziyao in the future. Even if you two are in harmony, I will not have any opinions about it. Mu Huanjun interrupted. I think that with my sister's personality, she will not care even if you have opinions about her. After all, the person she really likes is not the Emperor. Although I don't know who she likes yet, one thing is certain: she has no feelings for the Emperor. Rui Ziying said angrily. Can you shut up? Did this kind of person talk to you? Now I am communicating with Hu here. If you do such a thing in front of the Emperor, I can guarantee that the Emperor will not tolerate you so easily. After all, you have successfully crossed the line. Don't take advantage of your young age and do whatever you want. There should be rules in the palace. You will make other young maids gossip about you behind your back. Do you know what the consequences of their gossip are? Mu Huanjun doesn't understand the rules, but she does, so she can't let him go on so willfully. If the Emperor really notices it, the ending will not be good. She must ensure his safety. Mu Huanjun didn't think about herself at all. She just said it casually, but she was scolded by Rui Ziying. In the past, no matter what she said, you thought she would not blame him. What's going on now? Why is Rui Ziying so angry? Although he didn't know the reason why Rui Ziying was angry, but since she was angry, she should just apologize, so he said very aggrievedly, I understand, sister will not be so willful in the future. I will definitely guard the palace carefully and know what to say and what not to say. I will think about it. It has to be said that seeing the other party looking so aggrieved, Rui Ziying, who had a lot of reproach in her heart, suddenly died down, and the words on her lips could not come out. Man Ziyao couldn't help laughing when she saw how the two of them got along with each other, and then she said, actually, sister, you don't have to treat me as an outsider. Didn't we just agree that I would join you? In that case, then we'll all be together from now on. What can't you say in front of me? Rui Ziying said directly. You think too much? It's not that I think I can't say that to you, but I'm afraid that she will talk nonsense in front of the Emperor. You know there are rules in the palace. If she talks nonsense in front of the Emperor will most likely behead her given his character. After all, I brought him into the palace, and I must ensure his safety. If he really offends the Emperor by accidentally saying something wrong, and I can't protect him, then I will feel guilty for the rest of my life. The reason I say this now is entirely for the sake of ensuring his safety, and not to deceive you, nor because I don't trust you. You can also understand that her life in the palace is not as easy as we imagined. We are cautious and careful just to be able to live more safely in the palace. If she ruins her young life because of her careless words, how can I explain to her master and to those ordinary civilians who trust him? The most crucial point is that Mu Huanjun is very talented in medicine. He may become a famous doctor in the future. Therefore, he must be very cautious in controlling his mouth. He must know what to say, and what not to say. He is now just a child and likes to make trouble. Even if Geng Guanyu forgives him, it will be bad for her future development. Mu Huanjun seemed to finally realize where he was wrong, and he honestly apologized to Rui Ziying. I really know I was wrong, sisters. I will never talk nonsense again. I just couldn't help but relax in front of you sisters. In the future, no matter when, I will control my mouth and not talk nonsense, especially in front of the Emperor. I always know that he and I are in completely different camps, so I always look very serious in front of him. Chapter 128 Forced melon is not sweet. After hearing his words, Rui Ziying was really relieved. Moreover, from the beginning, he was not really angry. He just wanted to take this opportunity to remind him so that he would not speak freely in front of other people in the future. Sometimes it is easy to cause trouble from the mouth. As long as you say something carelessly, you will bring yourself a fatal disaster. If such a thing really happens, it will be too late to save it. So the best solution is to remind him from the beginning, so that he has an idea in his mind and understands where he is wrong, so as not to make such a mistake again in the future. Since you already know it, then I won't say anything to you. My attitude just now was a little serious. Don't be angry with me. I did this for your own good. After all, you came into the palace with me. If something really happens to you, it will be difficult for me to explain to your master. Mu Huanchen nodded and understood that Rui Ziying didn't mean to be so fierce just now. It was just for his life's safety. So in some ways, he was still very grateful. I know, sister, I don't mean to be angry with you. On the contrary, I am very touched that you can stand on my side and think about me sincerely instead of putting my life aside. My master told me that sister really cares about me and asked me to listen to you carefully. I think what master said makes sense. Rui Ziying heard that this person was him. She reached out and touched his head, pulled him to sit down, and then said, "Since you are here, sit down and have dinner with us. We can just talk about what to do next. The enemy country has been eyeing us covetously. Although they have stopped their actions now, it is just their delaying tactic. As for what kind of plan they will use to deal with us, it is still an unknown, but one thing is certain, if they really intend to attack us, then they will definitely not show any mercy, and it may even be far more fierce than the current situation. If we don't think of a way to deal with it now, it will not be so easy to deal with them in the future." Mu Huanchen sat down obediently and looked very restrained. Rui Ziying was amused by her appearance. "Didn't I tell you? Are you too afraid of me too? It seems that I've been nice to you for nothing. Now I just want to remind you, but you are so afraid of me." Mu Huanchen couldn't help laughing after Rui Ziying exposed his thoughts. "I'm not afraid of my sister, it's just that what my sister said just now made me feel very reasonable. I still have to be more careful in the future. I want to be a miracle doctor in the future. As a miracle doctor, I can't talk nonsense every day. No wonder my master dislikes me so much. It turns out that I have a big problem. I thought I didn't work hard enough, but I didn't expect it was because I was too talkative." Manziosi couldn't help but joked, "You can recognize your mistakes. In some ways, you have made great progress. I hope that after these things, you will understand that we have solved the problem with our heart. Let's change together and become better in the future. You will be a miracle doctor in the future, and I will be with my sister. Let her be the mother of the country, and stay in this position steadily. As for the emperor, let him be." Rui Ziying was very pleased. After her training, the two of them had made great progress. They were completely unsure of creating a thing. Compared with the previous over-reliance on the emperor, it was already better. I don't know how many times. It's very good for the two of you to fall into this attitude. Only if you don't take the emperor seriously, you won't live too hard in the future. It's good like now, and there is still a lot of room for improvement. You must continue to work hard. I think the dishes I cooked today are still very good. Why don't you two move your chopsticks? That's because I'm here, so you don't feel comfortable eating. Otherwise, I'll leave for a while to make room for you to have a good chat." Mu Huanchen shook his head in resistance and said immediately, "I don't want to. It's best if only my sister is here." I believe she and I have the same idea. Manziosi also smiled, looking very gentle. "If you really want to be alone with Mu Huanchen." If they were alone, they might not be used to it. It was most appropriate for Rui Ziying to sit here. The three of them talked and laughed, and the mealtime passed quickly. Then, what they never expected was that Geng Guanyu came over just after they finished their meal, and behind him was King Yanlin, who had not been seen for a long time. King Yanlin saw that Manziosi was also here with Rui Ziying. He was a little surprised for a while. Logically, the relationship between the two of them didn't seem to be so good to you. When did they start talking and laughing? He actually missed such a good opportunity for gossip. He admitted that he had some ideas about Rui Ziying at the beginning, but after being warned by Geng Guanyu several times, and Rui Ziying was also indifferent to him, he slowly understood. Since you can't get it, there is no need to force it. As the saying goes, a forced melon is not sweet. Rui Ziying has no feelings for Geng Guanyu, and it is even more impossible for her to have feelings for herself. After all, Geng Guanyu is the queen. In some ways, he can give Rui Ziying a better life. Later, he had some interactions with Manziosi, but he never had any thoughts about her again, especially in the end, when he heard that the other party was a spy sent by the enemy country. His fantasy about her was completely shattered. It is better to stay by the emperor's side and be his minister, so that at least you can guarantee your own safety. Now the whole country is full of enemy people, eyeing them covetously. They must work together and should not engage in any civil war. The reason why he had such thoughts about Rui Ziying before was because he had already had a love for Rui Ziying before Rui Ziying became the queen. After Rui Ziying became the queen, he gradually suppressed this feeling, and he was more certain of his decision when he fell into it. Some feelings are destined to be strangled in the cradle. Once they are allowed to develop, the consequences will be disastrous. Chapter 121 Father is seriously injured. Rui Ziying was a little surprised when she saw the other person's clear eyes, but she was also very glad that he had come to his senses in time and no longer had any illusions about her and Manziosi. Otherwise, the final result would definitely not be much better than what was in the original text. This result was actually the best. At least she could live in peace until the end. Geng Guanyu looked at the three of them getting along harmoniously, and said with some surprise, "I didn't expect that you two would get along well now. Don't I know what happened to you during this period of time?" Rui Ziying rolled her eyes and said bluntly, "Tell me why you came to us. Don't say that we came before you. None of us three tipped you off," Geng Guanyu said angrily. "What kind of attitude is this? Even if you don't welcome me, there is no need to make your disgust so obvious. I really don't owe you anything. On the contrary, I think I'm quite good to you. In some ways, I have never treated you unfairly." Rui Ziying nodded thoughtfully and told the truth. "You really don't owe me anything, and I have never said that I have nothing to apologize to me. I'm just surprised that you can come to me suddenly. After all, the relationship between the two of us is not as good as you imagined. I have had a lot of conflicts before." The emperor took the initiative to rush to my side. "Has he forgiven me?" Geng Guanyu twitched his lips in surprise. He never thought that Rui Ziying would still hold a grudge for such a small matter. She actually remembered it until now. Moreover, he had already taken the initiative to come to her, but she still looked like she was right. "Since I have come here, I must not want to have any more conflicts with the queen. I also hope that the queen can forgive me. My attitude was indeed a bit bad before, but now the country is in crisis. I think we should not pay attention to this. I came here today because I have something important to tell the queen." Rui Ziying nodded weakly and looked at him silently, wanting to hear what he was going to say next. Then, what Geng Guanyu said next was actually related to her father. Geng Guanyu said, "The news just came from the border that the enemy attacked and your father was seriously injured. Now I have sent a military doctor over, but for the sake of your father's life, I want to send Mu Huanchan as well." Rui Ziying couldn't sit down anymore when she heard this. She stood up from the chair and looked at him seriously, asking uncomfortably, "What did you say? After all, my father is old and now he is seriously injured. Moreover, the enemy has been staring at Bianjiang covetously. With my father's character, he will definitely not trust the soldiers he brought out, which will lead to his unwillingness to leave. But the situation at the border is already very bad. If you receive treatment there, the treatment effect will not meet expectations." Rui Ziying was so anxious that tears fell. Geng Guanyu didn't expect Rui Ziying to be so anxious. It was the first time he saw Rui Ziying so fragile, and he felt a little helpless. At this time, Mu Huanchan was exceptionally calm. He said lightly, "I hope the emperor will send me there immediately without any delay. I will take care of your father's injury. I will never let him suffer any injury or any life danger. Do you believe in my medical skills?" Rui Ziying nodded almost randomly. It's not that she didn't believe in Mu Huanchan's medical skills, but she still hoped that she could go there in person for some new aspects. Even if she could only see her father from a distance to know his current situation, it would be better than worrying in the palace. So she looked at Geng Guanyu eagerly, and Geng Guanyu also knew Rui Ziying's thoughts for the first time. He sighed silently, knowing that Rui Ziying was worried about her father's situation, so he nodded and said, "Since you are worried about your father, then you can go with Mu Huanchan, the divine doctor." Rui Ziying at least nodded, and for the first time she was so grateful to Geng Guanyu, she basically ran towards Geng Guanyu, hugged him hard, and then said hard, "Thank you. When I come back this time, I will definitely not let you down, and I will definitely help you to stabilize your position." Geng Guanyu never thought that he had only agreed to one request, but he could move the other party like this. It seems that he was not really that good to Rui Ziying before. After Rui Ziying comes back, it is better to find a way to appease her emotions and treat her well. After all, Rui Ziying is a rare queen. She will definitely be able to sit firmly in the position of queen and bless the world. When he thought of this, he was just thinking about reaching out to repay Rui Ziying, but she had already let him go and pulled Mu Huanshan away. He stretched out his hand helplessly, feeling a little amused and crying. He didn't expect Rui Ziying's emotions to come and go quickly. The most important point was that it hadn't been long since Rui Ziying came back, and she hadn't told Rui Ziying what she was thinking, but the other party was leaving again. But this was also a helpless solution. As a daughter, she definitely wanted to be filial to her father when his father was injured. What's more, Rui Ziying was actually a person who valued feelings. It was just that he had failed her expectations, so she was so heartless. After Rui Ziying left, Manziosi suddenly felt a little embarrassed. She didn't know how to get along with Geng Guanyu anymore, nor did she know what to say to deal with Geng Guanyu. She could only bow and was about to leave when Geng Guanyu called her. "Are you planning to hide from me, concubine? Then have I proved that I did something wrong to make concubine angry?" Manziosi hurriedly shook her head and said with certainty, "The emperor has done nothing wrong to me, nor has he done anything to make me angry. It's just that my sister has gone to take care of our father, and I miss my hometown a little bit. But I no longer have any family to rely on. The only ones I can rely on are my sister and the emperor." Geng Guanyu did not speak, but just stared at her silently, as if trying to see how much truth and falsehood her words were. Chapter 122 Condition is stable. However, the other person's eyes were pure, and it seemed that all the self-esteem she just said did not mean to be a lie, so Geng Guanyu slowly chose to believe her. In fact, rather than saying that he believed Manziosi, it would be better to say that he believed Rui Ziying, because a character with Rui Ziying's personality would not be mighty with her enemy if that person was trustworthy. Just now, Rui Ziying was able to sit and talk with a woman in front of her, which meant that the two of them had reconciled. In this case, the words of the woman in front of her had a certain degree of credibility, otherwise how could Rui Ziying sit with her? It's really great that you think so. I also hope that you and the queen can get along well. I don't expect the relationship between you two to be very good, but at least there should be no conflicts. You should visit the queen mother often recently. The situation of the queen mother, who is in a panic in the palace, is not much better. She needs someone to accompany her now. In fact, Manziosi really wanted to say that the queen mother no longer needed her, but seeing the expression on Geng Guanyu's face, she swallowed the words back. The emperor had already said so as a concubine, she naturally could not refute anything and could only do as he said. Yes, the journey to the border was very long, and it would take at least 7 days to get there. However, Rui Ziying and Mu Huanshan galloped and arrived in just 3 days. However, after 3 days, they were both very tired. The moment she saw her father, the fatigue on Rui Ziying's face finally melted away. When Rui Tiu saw Rui Ziying, besides being surprised, he blamed Rui Ziying for not protecting herself and making herself so exhausted. "No matter how miserable Dad is, there is no need for you to rush over to see me. My biggest wish is that you and your mother are safe, and Dad will be satisfied. Seeing you like this, Dad suddenly feels that if I pass away, you and your mother may not be able to take care of yourselves." After listening to her father's words, Rui Ziying couldn't hold back her tears anymore. He was her only relative in this world. Although he was not her biological parents, the fatherly and motherly love she felt from them was something she had never felt in her previous life. In the short time they had spent together, she had already regarded them as her biological parents. Now that her father said such words, how could she not be sad? People are all made of flesh and blood. Even Mu Huanshan, who was standing aside, couldn't help but reach out to wipe his tears. He had no parents since he was a child and grew up with his master. He couldn't help but think of what kind of mood he would face if his master died. Probably only more devastated than Rui Ziying now. Rui Ziying could barely keep calm. After all, her parents were still alive, but her father was seriously injured. He would be completely helpless in the future. According to the current situation, the only person he could rely on besides his master was Rui Ziying in front of him. If the master was gone, he could only face the difficulties of the rest of his life together with Rui Ziying. Although Rui Tiu's eyes were full of reproach, he felt more distressed for his daughter. He had come all the way here with great difficulty. It was impossible for him not to feel distressed. No matter how weak his body was, he had to entertain his daughter first. "Don't worry, you have a long journey and it must be tiring to rush here. You should have a good rest first and talk about it tomorrow. I have heard about Dr. Mu's excellent medical skills. I believe that after his treatment, my condition will improve soon. It's just a minor injury. Dad has experienced all kinds of symptoms in his life. This minor injury is nothing to me." Although Rui Ziying said this, Rui Ziying was still a little worried. She asked Mu Huanjun to check and made sure that there was no danger to her life. Only then did she feel relieved. Rui Ziying was very confident in his health and said with a smile, "Before you came, the emperor had already sent a doctor to check on me. There is nothing wrong with my body. Besides, my body has always been very strong. It's just a small matter. It's not a big deal for me at all. I will recover soon. You should have a good rest first. If your body collapses, it will be a real big sin." "I don't know how to explain to the emperor," Rui Ziying said with a smile. "You don't need to explain anything to the emperor. I came here willingly. Even if I die of exhaustion on the way, it seems impossible for me to say a word against you. After all this is all my own fault. Who made me worry too much about you, father?" Rui Ziying's words made Rui Ti burst into tears. After all, she was his daughter whom he had loved since she was a child. Only at this moment did he feel that his love was not in vain. His daughter was still very considerate. Even after entering the palace and becoming the queen, she was still thinking about him. This father was not like some women who were dazzled by power after entering the harem and could not even take care of their own parents. The father and daughter talked about some of their inner thoughts together, and Rui Ziying was reluctant to go to rest. After 3 days of hard work, her body could no longer bear it. She fell asleep as soon as she touched the bed. She slept for a long time and ran to see her father at noon the next day. But she didn't expect Mu Huanjun to wake up earlier than herself. He had already taken his father's pulse and confirmed that the situation had not deteriorated. He was ready to report the situation to Rui Ziying. Unexpectedly, he met Rui Ziying at the moment he was about to go out. "How is my father?" Mu Huanjun said calmly. "The general is fine and is resting in bed." "Why did you wake up just now, sister?" "I was just about to look for you," Rui Ziying said ashamedly. "Maybe I have been too busy recently. I slept like a pig in my bed. If I hadn't heard any noise outside, I guess I would not have woken up. On the contrary, you had the same difficult journey as me, but you fought earlier than me. Maybe you young people are more resilient. I'm old and I can't keep up with you young people in terms of physical strength." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123 Responsibility on Shoulders. After listening to Rui Ziying's words, Mu Huanjun said, "Maybe today I was relieved to see that your father was safe. It's easy for people to fall asleep when they relax, so it's not your fault. After all, I was planning for the general's physical condition and knew what my responsibilities were today, so I got up before dawn to check on him. Now that I see the general is safe, I feel a little sleepy and I'm going to go back for a nap. In fact, if there's nothing else, I'll go down first. Call me up for lunch afternoon." Rui Ziying also knew that Mu Huanjun had been very busy recently, so she nodded in agreement and instructed, "You should have a good rest. I won't call you at noon. When you wake up, I'll have someone heat up a meal for you." "What do you think?" Mu Huanjun was a little embarrassed. "Will this be too troublesome?" Rui Ziying shook her head. "But it's too troublesome. I'll cook for you myself after you wake up. I won't bother others." "Don't worry." Mu Huanjun was very happy. "I didn't expect to taste my sister's cooking outside the palace. This is a great gift to me. I would like to thank my sister in advance." After Mu Huanjun left, Rui Ziying was still worried about her father's physical condition and decided to go to her father to check on him. Rui Ti was lying on the bed and had obviously fallen asleep. His complexion had improved a lot, and it was softer than yesterday. It was obvious that his injuries had recovered. But even so, Rui Ziying did not plan to return to the palace so easily. This did not mean that she did not care about the situation in the palace. It was just that she also needed to accompany her father. Now that he was old and leading troops to fight in the border, who knew how many times he could see him again? To put it bluntly, what if I could never see my father again after returning this time? If this had not happened, I might not have realized it, but now that I have realized it, I can't do nothing. Being able to spend more time with her father was already a very difficult thing for her. She finally had an opportunity, so she naturally couldn't let it go easily. As for Geng Guanyu's situation, she had her own decision. According to the current situation, Geng Guanyu's cleaning up of the house had attracted the attention of refugees from the enemy country, and the traitors in the court were cautiously staying by Geng Guanyu's side, fearing that it would be their turn the next moment. From this point of view, the situation in the court had entered a short period of stagnation, and there would be no more accidents in the near future. After this period of time passed, her father's injuries would improve, and she would naturally return to the palace. She told her father's father about her plan, but he did not agree with her at all. Our Rui family has been loyal for generations. Now that the country is facing such a disaster, how can we ignore it? My boss here doesn't matter. You can stay here for 2 or 3 weeks and then go back. It's better for you to stay with the emperor. I really can't feel at ease without you in these situations. I know the emperor has a certain ability and can deal with these, but with you by his side, he can be more relaxed. The emperor has few people he can trust in his current situation, and you are just one of them. If even you are not by his side, then who should he discuss with when he encounters problems? In fact, these were not within Rui Ziying's consideration at all. No matter how cowardly Geng Guanyu was, he would not be at a loss when encountering problems and could not think of a solution. Even if there was no one he could trust around him, so what? Could he trust himself? Did his father write a list before? Now the emperor has nominated several people on the list. They are all the emperor's men. I believe that if the emperor encounters any situation again, they will definitely help the emperor with advice and will not let the emperor fight alone. Rui Ziying still insisted on his opinion. It's not that he didn't love his daughter, but he was more concerned about the overall situation. He knew what kind of crisis his country was facing. In such a situation where people were urgently needed, Rui Ziying was hiding here and being lazy, which was really inappropriate. Listen to Dad, and go back after resting for 2 days. The palace needs you more than Dad does. You'll be taken care of by Dr. Mu here. When the rope in the dish gets better, you'll go to the palace to help the emperor with advice. Although Dad is a military general, he is more trustworthy than those people in the court with ulterior motives. Rui Ziying couldn't help but sigh. It was because her father cared too much about the court that he tortured himself like this. If he had thought about her a little, he wouldn't have suffered like this. Dad, I think you can think about yourself. After all, you still have a wife and daughter. You are dragging this body now, but you still don't forget to work hard for the court. But in the end, what have you gained? You worked hard for the court, but the emperor didn't give you any benefits. Why did you do that? Rui Ziying shook his head. Because the reason for working for the court is not to succeed and get some benefits, but ordinary civilians need protection. Someone has to stand up so that they can live a happy life. I also know that I have a wife and daughter, and I feel sorry for you. I also know that you are thinking about me, but I don't have any other way. If I don't come out to protect the people invisibly, what will happen to the lives of the civilians? They put all their hopes on Dad. How could Dad let them down? Everything I do now is what I should do. This is my responsibility, and now I have given this responsibility to you. It is your responsibility to protect the emperor, and it is also your responsibility to take care of the emperor's food and daily life. Dad doesn't expect you to make many sacrifices for the country. I hope you can protect the emperor and yourself. Only if you can live well in the palace can Dad completely put his mind at ease and better protect our country and our civilians. Do you understand Dad's good intentions? Chapter 124 Keeping Peace. Rui Ziying nodded. Although she couldn't understand what kind of benefit her father could get by sacrificing to this extent for the country, she would keep her father's words in mind and develop according to his wishes. If you want me to do this for the emperor, I will do my best to fulfill my responsibilities, but before that, I also hope that you can protect yourself well, because you are the only hope for me and my mother. We all hope that you are well. You are my glory. Rui Ziying reached out and touched Rui Ziying's hair, and then said, I know that you have always been a good child. You have always made me worry-free, but I also know what my responsibilities are. It is enough for you to understand my good intentions. I will live well for you and your daughter. After discussing with her father, Rui Ziying returned to her room, thinking that she was free anyway, so she might as well make some food for her father. Since she grew up, she has never been filial to her parents. After entering the palace, this situation will never happen again. Although he could only stay here for 2 days, it was enough to fulfill his filial duty. His father might not want other things, but it was necessary to make some simple food. After thinking it through, he went to the kitchen and asked the chef for some ingredients. Her cooking skills were always very good. Even the simplest ingredients would become very delicious and fragrant after being cooked by his mobile phone. Rui Ziying was always very satisfied with her cooking skills. After making some simple things, she went to Sikian again alone. Her father was talking to a general about something important. He always had a very serious expression on his face. When he saw Rui Ziying coming in, he couldn't help but frown. She said to the general, "You go out first. I have something to tell my daughter. I'll have someone report the situation to you later." After the general left, Rui Ziying smelled the food Rui Ziying sent over and said with great satisfaction, "I've heard that the queen's cooking skills are very good. It's a rare delicacy in the palace. Now I have the blessing to taste it. It can be regarded as a blessing from my previous life." Facing her father's ridicule, Rui Ziying not only did not find it funny, but even felt very sad. If she had not entered the palace and had not become the queen, she should be able to accompany her parents now. However, now that she is accompanying her parents, it has become a luxury, which is basically an existence that can only be hoped for but not sought. Although I promised father that I could only stay here for 2 days, I will give father all my company in these 2 short days. I don't know when we will meet next time. During these 2 days, all of father's food must pass through my hands and be prepared by me personally. Rui Ziying sighed and said very seriously, "You'd better not work too hard. Since you finally come here to visit me for 2 days, take advantage of these 2 days to have a good rest. Life in the palace is probably so hard, and you are under a lot of pressure every day." Rui Ziying shook her head and said very seriously, "The emperor did not put pressure on me. On the contrary, I am relatively relaxed. It's just that life in the palace is indeed not as free as life outside. There are certain rules in many aspects. The Empress Dowager wanted me to get pregnant at this time some time ago. But I was thinking that now we are facing a disaster in the country. If I get pregnant at this time, although it will not have any flushing effect, it will bring a certain crisis to the emperor. After all, there is a shortage of manpower now. If I get pregnant, I will not be able to take care of the emperor's situation most of the time. Having a baby is important, but I think protecting the kingdom is the most important thing right now. Let's wait until the crisis in the enemy country is resolved before discussing having a baby." Rui Ziying also agreed with Rui Ziying's idea on this point. After all, career is the most important thing for a man. He also hopes that his daughter can have a good career instead of being restricted by a child. Although it is also a very important thing for a woman, it is obviously not suitable to do it in the current situation. It is natural that this kind of thing should be discussed after the bigger disaster is resolved. In this regard, I think what you said is right. The Queen Mother may be too anxious to have a grandson, but she has lived in the harem for a long time and may not understand what kind of disaster she is facing now. You don't have to rush to explain to the Queen Mother. After the matter is resolved, she will naturally understand your good intentions, and the Emperor will be able to sympathize with you. Rui Ziying nodded in agreement. I think so too, so I didn't have any arguments with the Queen Mother. I just sat down with her and had a meal. I think the Queen Mother has changed her mind about my situation now, and she is not as anxious as before. Maybe it's because the Queen Mother is old and has a different point of view from me. She believes that women should have their own children. Only in this way can they sit firmly in their positions, but I think that being able to help the Emperor is the most important thing. Rui Ziying fully approves of Rui Ziying's approach and agrees with her sacrifice for the motherland. I agree with your point of view. You are worthy of being the woman I carefully cultivated. I believe that in the future you will be able to consider yourself better and deal with these things from the perspective of justice, instead of making meaningless arguments from your personal perspective. Rui Ziying was very satisfied with the food made by Rui Ziying. He ate a lot of it and then stopped to say with lingering feelings, "With your cooking skills, I believe you will not be too bad in front of the Emperor. The Emperor must like you very much. I don't expect the relationship between you two to be very good, but you two are husband and wife after all. Even for ordinary civilians, you must try to maintain harmony, don't have any more conflicts, otherwise those innocent people will suffer, and the Emperor will probably vent his anger on the court officials. You have had a certain burden since you entered the palace." Chapter 125, A Place for Old Age. Rui Ziying nodded. She naturally agreed with what her father said on this point. I also feel that I have caused a lot of trouble since I entered the palace. Not only am I restricted in doing charity work, but there are also many rules in the palace. I am not as free as I was at home, although these are nothing to me. I still miss the days at home more. Only in front of my parents can I experience the joy of being a child, instead of having to remember that I am the queen all the time like in the palace, just because I am the queen. Some things that I should have done when I was a child, I can no longer do them now. Even leaving the palace to visit my parents has become a luxury. I can only see you in a hurry due to some accidents. And because of you, father, I am not allowed to stay with you for too long. Rui Ziying was very ashamed of what Rui Ziying said. You have to consider the overall situation. Although there were only a few short words, Rui Ziying already knew her father's loyalty to the motherland. He must hope that he could better stand in the position of queen and be the mother of the country, rather than staying with his parents as a child because of his own selfish desires. Being a child may make her life happier in the future, but since she has already reached the position of queen, she must fulfill her responsibilities as a queen and not let her people down. After staying here for just 2 days, Rui Ziying experienced unprecedented happiness. After her father's injury was almost recovered, she set out on the road back to the city alone. Because she was really worried about her father's situation, she could only discuss with Yu Huanchen. He stayed with his father temporarily to take care of his father's diet and daily life. After his father's boss was completely recovered, he could go to the battlefield again and lead the troops to fight, and then he would come back alone. Yu Huanchen also understood that Rui Ziying was worried about her father's situation, and promised Rui Ziying that he was willing to stay here to fulfill her filial piety and let Rui Ziying go back to the city with peace of mind. Rui Ziying was naturally relieved about the people she brought with her, so she quickly returned to the palace and started the war in the palace. She had only been away for 3 days, and there had been some changes in the palace. Not only had the Germans become much more honest, but the people who came to rescue Geng Guanyu had also been replaced in batches. In just a few days, everyone around her had become a stranger. When Manzai came over, Rui Ziying couldn't help but complain to her, "I've only been away for 3 days, and more than half of the people in my palace have been replaced. I can't tell whether the emperor did it on purpose or not. Although the enemy country did arrange some spies in the mix, I don't think there are so many people in my palace. They are all spies sent by the enemy country." Manzai comforted her, "The emperor did this for the queen's safety. Sister, don't bother with the emperor. Although it is not certain whether those people are all sent by the enemy country, since the emperor said that he wants to replace them, it only proves that they must have their own shortcomings. If they really do a good job, how could the emperor be so cruel? It's not easy to find a loyal person in a place like the palace. As long as they are loyal to the queen, the emperor will naturally notice it and will not let them off easily. But if they are loyal to my sister and the emperor still replaces them, it can only show that it is the emperor's fault. But looking at your situation, the emperor is obviously not being unreasonable. He is just trying to ensure your safety. Do you think I'm right?" Rui Ziying couldn't help but look at her more, then reached out and pinched her chin, and said seriously, "Why do I feel that you have become smarter than before during the 3 days I was away? You even consider this aspect," Manzai said ashamedly. "It seems that I left some bad influences on your sister in the past, which led to some misunderstandings about me. In fact, I am still relatively smart in some aspects, but I didn't show it before. As long as I don't compete for a favor with my sister, there will be no such conflicts in the future." Rui Ziying hated beating around the bush the most, so she just told the truth. "Maybe it has something to do with this aspect. After all, you always made me feel silly before, which made me have a bias towards you and preconceive that you are not that smart." Manzai poured Rui Ziying a cup of tea, and then said, "Sister, I will definitely correct the areas that you think are not good enough in the future, and try my best to keep up with your pace and not hold you back. I think that's enough." "Did the miracle Dr. Yu Huanchen come back with you this time?" Rui Ziying shook her head. "My father's condition is still a little unstable, so I asked him to stay there to take care of my father's diet and daily life. When my father's condition improves, he will come back." Manzai nodded after listening, thinking that Rui Ziying did the right thing. "Actually, I envy my sister. You have parents around you. People like me who have no parents can only rely on myself. I even have to consider my future. If anything happens to me in the future, I don't know who I should trust and who I should rely on." Rui Ziying put her hands on her shoulders and told her very accurately, If you don't know who to believe and who to listen to in the future, then you just need to stay by my side and stand behind me firmly. I can give you a support so that you can have someone to rely on when you are old, and it won't be too difficult. I am serious about every word I say now. I can also be sure that I can definitely do this in the future. As long as I sit on the position of queen, there will be no disasters and I can even enjoy my old age. This was indeed a surprise for Manziosi, so she agreed readily without any consideration. I will hold on to your thighs in the future. No matter where you go, I will go with you. Even if you are no longer the queen in the future, I will always stick to you and stay with you when you leave the palace. Don't dislike me, sister. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.